Shalom.
Shalom. Today we're coming to you to give you some information about his name, the creator of all living things. And really the purpose of this video is to give you what we've been given, and so that you can do your test, just like Ephesians 3:11 through 16. And he gave some as emissaries, some as prophets, some as evangelists, some as shepherds and teachers for the perfecting of the set-apart ones, to the work of service of building up the body of Messiah until we come to unity of the belief and knowledge of the Son of Elohim, to a perfect man, to the measure of stature of completeness of Messiah, so that we should no longer be children, tossed and borne about by every wind of teaching, by the trickery of men and cleverness, unto the craftiness of leading astray, but maintaining the truth in love, we grow up in all respects into him who is the head, Messiah, from whom the entire body, joined and knit together by what every joint supplies, according to the working by which each part does share, causing the growth of the body for the building up of itself in love. So his name is read right to left. We have the, everywhere from the ancient Hebrew to the one at the bottom where it's read left to right in the how we do that in the English. So we have the ancient, paleo, the modern, and then how we would write that in the English form. Now, a few years ago, I had a vision, and so I just wanted to go over what I had seen, what Yah had shown me. The vision began by, I was in terranium, I guess is how you would say, where it's a glass enclosure, and it was a lush garden. I was walking through this path, and it was just overflowing with this lush, green, vibrant foliage just everywhere. And there was a path that I was walking upon. And as I was coming up to a clearing, I saw to the right, probably about 10, 15 yards away, a table and chair set, like a wrought iron table and chair set that you would have outside, painted green, and just over in a little section. And from the right, I saw a man coming to go to sit at the table and chairs. And he looked similar to what we would think that the Messiah would look like, kind of what I have on the screen here. And as I was approaching and he sat down, he lifted his face up, and at that moment in time, I knew that it was not the Messiah, that I knew it was the enemy, that I knew that the countenance had, it wasn't good, that's for sure. Then at that moment, the scene changed, and I was standing in front of a fort, like a stockade fort, the kind that you would see like the old forts of long ago. And it was probably about 3 stories high. And I was searching for the door. I was searching for the way in. And it wasn't evident where the door was. So I was seeking entrance, but I couldn't find the door. So I was just looking around the stockade. And then I came to this one point. So I was back where I was at the beginning. And the stockade, it opened up. The door, couldn't tell that it was a door there, but it opened up into the sky. And coming out was the appearance of a man bathed in light. And he was larger than myself. And I knew that this was the Messiah. this was him glorified. And up to that point, there had been no spoken words or anything prior to this. And then standing there, I asked, how do you say the name of the Father? And what I heard was Yah, short. And then a long gale force wind, very strong and very long. And then at the end of that wind, there was a closing. It sounded like the closing of the door on the wind, not the door sound, but the wind sound. So the sound of that. And in my mind, I thought, Scripture, and I heard, by him, for him, through him, all things were made. And we're told in Psalms that Yah has set a guard over my mouth and watch over the doors of my lips. So that's how I had heard it. So it was Yah. So in 1 Thessalonians, we're told not to quench the spirit, and not to despise prophecy, but to prove them all and to hold fast to what is good. So that's what we want to do.
So we're going to start with some ancient languages that people have used to prove or not to prove a W or a U throughout time. We're not going to hit every single thing there's ever been, because once we show a few different things that we're going to show, there will be proof there that will line right up with the scriptures that we've been given. So we're going to start with cuneiform. And the top picture on the screen here, I hope you guys can see my mouse on the recording. I think you can. We have E, A, Ve, Alu, and then we have Eve, Alu, and then we have EU, Alu. And according to Friedrich Delitzsch, these mean Yahweh, Yahweh is God. So first question that might come to people's mind, well, we got a V and we got a W. So we know we had some German going on when we inherited some of our language. That's not part of this study, but there are studies out there on the etymology of the V and the W and how things changed. If you're interested, you can look those up. You can probably find them with a simple Google search. So, want to start with well, let's see if I can pull it up. I want to start with the site that I told Stephanie I was not going to start with. This is a site, BibleOrigins.net. And I just want to read from here a little bit about these tablets. So they found 3 tablets. Trying to get my mouse to... This is something that Professor Delitzsch said when he produced these names that he's showing us here. Professor Delitzsch, in 2 lectures given in Berlin, Germany in 1902 and 1903, noted that Yahweh appeared in Akkadian cuneiform on clay tablets from the world of Hammurabi and his father. He understood Yahweh El meant Yahweh is God, to the degree that some scholars associated Aramaphel of Genesis with Hammurabi. The name Yahweh appears to have been attested in Abraham's time if Abraham had been correctly dated to Hammurabi's world, the 18th century BC. So that's one of the things in question. That's not the biggest point here. Professor Delitzsch, this is from Lecture 1, Babylon Bible, 2007, reprint of the English edition, translated by Johns in 1903. Through the kindness of the head of the Department of Assyrian and Egyptian Antiquities at the British Museum, I am able to give a representation of 3 small clay tablets. They belong to the age of Hammurabi, one in particular to the reign of his father Sinmubilit. They contain 3 names from the point of view of the history of religion, are of the most far-reaching importance. The names are, Yahweh is God. Delitzsch, and this is now the author of the article, continued to talk. Delitzsch seems to suggest that Yahweh names may have existed as early as circa 2500 to 2300 BC. I note that some scholars date Abraham to circa 2166 through 1991 BC. And that is from Jack Finnegan's Handbook of the Biblical Chronology. So we go on with what Delitzsch says. The effect of the proper names enumerated in my last year's lecture, which we find to have been current in immensely large numbers among North Semitic nomads, who about 2500 BC had wandered into Babylonia, has proved quite startling. Such names as El, God sits enthroned in power. If God not be my God, God behold me. God is God. Then we have Yehu, Jahu, i.e. Yahweh, is God. The names of the descendants of the North Semitic Bedouin dating from circa 2300 BC remain, like a lighthouse in a dark night, firm and immovable. El is El, Yehu is El. So that's kind of where this all started. We had looked at a video, and the video that we had looked at actually only contained the first line up here at the top and the second line in the middle. It did not even contain the third line. And so that's kind of what sent us on our search for what does this really mean. So we see what Delitzsch has to say. This is absolutely Yahweh is God. Are we arguing the fact that Abraham would have known at the time the name? That's not it. We're not arguing that the name couldn't have been around anywhere at the time of Abraham, because of course it was. So the point is that what these tablets really say? Is this the interpretation of this tablets? Is this actually pointing to the mighty one of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob? Or is it pointing to maybe a deity of the Hammurabi period? And is that even how you translate these letters? So we're going to go to a reference, the Bible in Babylon, their relationship in the history and culture. It's by Edward Koning. We're going to look at pages 80 to 91. And I'm going to pull it up here. I'm going to pull up this is the chart that's in there. So when I get to it, y'all be able to see the chart that I'm reading from. Okay, so I'll probably come back to this page and then sit on it during a certain section. So we're going to start at page 80. And this is going to be kind of a long read, so just if you can hang with it, that's great. Okay, we'll go to page 80 on this one, so you can see it better, but then I'll have to come back to the chart. Okay, actually, we can do this too. Okay. Characteristics of Israelite culture. The question for a long time debated with ardor the origin of the Hebrew divine appellation Yahweh, instead of which, but only since the time of Petrus Galatianus in 1518, the impossible pronunciation Yehovah, with which we agree with that statement, has come into use. has recently and was natural afforded a subject of discussion among Assyriologists. First of all, A.H. Sayce, the well-known professor of Assyriology at Oxford, wrote, among the cuneiform texts recently published by the British Museum is a letter addressed to a certain Ignace Ninsaka by YHWH, which was the last name that we saw on the chart that we looked at. The letter is included among the documents of the Hammurabi or Abraham period, and rightly, as the paleography shows. Now, YHWH is the Hebrew word Yoel, which stands for Yehovah, with the early Babylonian and South Arabian mimation M. This was corroborated soon afterwards by the likewise of well-known Orientalist Professor F. Homel of Munich, who said, this is the name Yahuamalu, or Ya'amalu, which the syllable Ya is written with the usual notation IA. To remember that, it's written with an IA. We're going to see what that looks like. Permits of no other reading and presupposes a divine Ya'am, i.e. Ya, with the Semitic nominative U ending and mimation. So they're saying that the U at the end makes it a nominative. They do say other things as well. We'll get to that. This, of course, the masculine divine name, Ah, which I have fully discussed in my ancient Hebrew tradition, his book, or his article, a name which may also be read Ai, as well as Ia. Only that in Ya'um, further the nominative ending presents itself. This state of case he reaffirms on page 48, speaking of Delitzsch, by a remark about the name of the Semitic deity Ia or Yah, with the nominative ending Ya'um. At least I think that's on Delitzsch's book, page 48. That Ya'amalu is really found in the cuneiform inscriptions, I have convinced myself by my own investigation. So they say that it's there. Okay. The text to which Sayce and Homel referred in 1898 is contained in the cuneiform texts, which have recently been published by the British Museum. There we find in part 4 a written tablet. In the third line of the verse, of which there are 4 groups of wedges, which I have marked number 1 in the cuneiform script copied on the opposite page. Now I'm going to go to that and continue to read so you can see what's being spoken of here. Otherwise, it'll make it too hard to understand. The first of the 4 groups there shown consists of the New Babylonian sign for I. This one here is Ya'um, Ya'u-alu, and this one in number 4 is Ya'ave-alu, just so you know which 2 we're dealing with. These other signs that are in the middle are signs that he found that were wrong or should look like this, or he copied them this way because this is the way they looked on the tablet. The first of the 4 groups there shown consists of the New Babylonian sign for I, right here, number 2 in our copy. And of the sign for Ah, number 3 in our copy. So even he's saying the signs have changed, is what he's saying. Or they look different from what he copied. The second cuneiform group corresponds substantially with the 4th sign of the list in Delitzsch's grammar. Oh, I'm trying to do 2 mouses at once. I should have had 2 mouses on here. The second cuneiform group, let me read that again, corresponds substantially with the fourth sign of the list in Delitzsch's grammar, page 18, and this is the U. The third group is a variation of the 55th sign, Delitzsch's grammar, page 22, and therefore is an Lastly, the fourth cuneiform group in the line is the simplified star, which indicates ilu, God, maybe where we got L, some people say. These four cuneiform groups represent the complex sound Yahuamalu, and this is the name of the man who sent a letter in question to Ignasninska. In that letter, therefore, Yah appears only as a constituent part of the cuneiform proper name, and this was emphasized by me in 1899. So he's saying that he thinks it's a letter from so-and-so to so-and-so. Now, could someone have wrote a letter in the name of Yah? Could have. This reading is also acknowledged by Mr. George Marguth of the British Museum, who says that or Yah, a name which the Assyriologists rightly treat as the primitive form of Yahweh, Yahu, on the other hand, is probably a contraction of Yahweh, may in all probability be identical with the Babylonian mighty one, Yah. So now you're looking at, okay, we say it's Yahweh, but it's really Yahu, but it may be identified with the other mighty one from Babylon known as it's Ea, Ea. Okay, and we'll look at what those look like here in just a little bit. We have a lot of people saying a lot of things. Now, the four cuneiform groups just considered, which was number 1 here, which have been under discussion since 1898, are given in Babylon Bible, page 47, as the lower of the 2 lines of cuneiform inscription there reproduced. So even in Babylon Bible, from what we found, they showed Yahuamalu and Yahweh Alu. They never showed us that middle form that we saw on the previous slide. Some teachings, maybe he's got it different in a different book. We couldn't find it. We've seen some teachings out there with just the VE forms. This line is there transliterated, Yahuamalu, and although the sound H is not expressed by any cuneiform sign, yet it might be presupposed. Probably, could have been, might be. Because in Assyrian, the gutturals, except H, parenthesis KH, have lost their sound. Isn't that interesting? But in the year 1899, Part 8 of the cuneiform publication of the British Museum already referred to was published. And on the averse of the text marked BU 91-5-9, 314, on plate 20, line 3, are found 4 cuneiform groups, which we have numbered 4 in the signs copied above. Right here, group number 4, Yahweh Alu. Now these 4 groups should be the upper of the 2 lines of the cuneiform writing printed in Babylon Bible. They're saying this one was on the top in Delitzsch's book and this one was underneath it, so they would have been reversed in his actual book. For the well-known Assyriologist, Dr. E.A. Wallace Budge, director of Egyptian and Assyrian Department of the British Museum, has most kindly named to me 3 tablets, whose original, likewise through Dr. Budge's good office, are figured on page 46 of Babylon Bible and at the Royal Library in Berlin. I copied all the passages from the cuneiform texts on those tablets in which appears the cuneiform group that occurs last in lines number 1 and number 4 above. Now, of the whole of the passages copied, only the 4 wedge groups given as number 4 correspond, with the exception of one detail, with the upper of the 2 cuneiform lines on page 47 of Babylon Bible. So he's saying that only the 4 wedge groups, number 4, correspond with one exception in detail, and that's this. It looks different. The one detail in which my copy of the line from the British Museum publication from Delitzsch's line is the concluding sign of the first group of wedges, which he gives as number 5 in the signs copied above. Now, of the whole of the passages copied, only the 4 wedge groups given as number 4 correspond, with the exception of one detail, with the upper of the 2 cuneiform lines on page 47 of Babylon Bible. So he's saying that only the 4 wedge groups, number 4, correspond with one exception in detail, and that's this. It looks different. The one detail in which my copy of the line from the British Museum publication from Delitzsch's line is the concluding sign of the first group of wedges, which he gives as number 5 that is a single wedge, like number 6, like number 5, like number 4, like number 3, like number 2. This is that way and that is this way. Okay, so there is, now we've got signs that aren't even the same. Did that come about over time from a different language? Could have been. Did the pronunciation change with it? Let's continue on. But although he thus draws one concluding sign of the first wedge group differently from the corresponding sign in his underline, yet he transcribes this wedge group in both lines. Oh, wait, now we're to this one. Oh, we got it different here. Now we're on to ya-ah. And so the whole of the first cuneiform group of his upper line must correspond with what I have copied from the English publication. What does the second group of wedges of that upper line mean in Delitzsch's copy? On my inquiring of Dr. Budge, which is this one, he had this one as the second line, I do believe. When I asked Dr. Budge whether the form of this second group of wedges, as given in the British Museum publication and copied in number 4 above, really corresponds to the original, he most kindly replied, the group in question has the form which I have produced as number 7. So this is different. This can only be a variation of the group of wedges figured as number 8. Okay, what do we got here? Why did they take these things off? And if it changed over time, what changed with it? And which appears in Delitzsch's grammar on this page, 18. The third cuneiform... Okay. The third cuneiform group of this line, I immediately identify with number 65, the third cuneiform group of this line, right here, Yahweh. I immediately identify with number 69 on page 25 of Delitzsch's grammar, where he tells us that it stands for the symbols Pi, Me, Ma, A, Tu, Tal. Thus, the first 3 groups of the upper line in Babylon Bible might read maybe we're on number 1, Yauma. The syllable ma would be a particle of emphasis, which is very often joined enclitically with other words. Just a minute, I want to see something. He's talking about group number 4. Okay. My mouse is misbehaving. How you like that? Thus the first 3 groups of the upper line, okay, might be read Ya, U, Ma. The syllable ma would be the particle of emphasis, which very often is joined enclitically, in other words. So some here, we're up here with Ya, U, Alu. So we switched from one to the other. No. Thus, the first three groups of the upper line in Babylon Bible might read Yahumah. The symbol ma would be the particle of emphasis, which very often is joined enclitically to other words. It occurs also in proper names as in Shar, Ashurma, and in compound proper names as in Aluma Demik, Delitzsch's Assyrian grammar. The whole four cuneiform groups of this upper line of Delitzsch would read accordingly Yahu Ma Elu, which expresses with emphasis the meaning that Yahu is God. And then he goes on to talk about, well, I guess we got to read it. But the first three reg groups might also be read Ya'ame. And as according to the phonetic law of Assyrian and Babylonian languages, Delitzsch's Grammar 44, the libel M often changes to the libel V. The expression might be read Ya'ave, okay, because the libel M could change to a V. Thus, the whole four cuneiform groups of this line might have been represented as Ya'ave, Ya'ave, Ya'ave Ilu. Although it is mentioned in Babylon Bible as if it were the only rendering. Who's confused now? Okay? We went from 1 to 4 to top to bottom to this to that to M to a V to a U to a VE. Okay? So we've got what Delitzsch said. We've got what this guy said. We've got who agrees with this guy. We've got symbols that have changed. Do symbols change over time? Of course. We can see that from one language to another. Have sounds changed from one language to another? I would say yes, that they have. So we'll get into some more interesting stuff now that we made it through that, because that was not easy. Thus, the whole four cuneiform groups of this line, reading it again, might have represented the name Yahweh Elu, although it is mentioned in Babylon Bible as if it were the only rendering. From what I have already adduced, however, we see that this interpretation of the groups in question is by no means the only possible one. Is it, then, the most probable? The name Yahweh Elu was certainly not Babylonian. Since the verb hava, we now have haya, hua, existence in a certain root line in Hebrew, did not exist in Babylonian or Assyrian. And we seek for it in vain in Delitzsch's Assyrian dictionary. This circumstance may indeed be looked upon as immaterial, as the first part of the name, Yahweh, or the whole of it, might have been not a Babylonian derivation, but a Canaanish loanword, or rather have been known to the Canaanite tribes to which Hammurabi is said to have belonged. Howbeit, this explanation could only be accepted in two cases. Now we're going to give you both sides of the story. We're not just going to do one side of the story and say it's this way because these people said all of this. We're going to give you both sides of the story. And then as we continue on down through the PowerPoint, we'll hope you'll be able to look back at this and say, yeah, this part of it's true and this part of it's not true, and be able to actually sort that out from what we know from the scriptures and from history, and for what the Ruach would reveal to you, to each of us, because the Ruach's only revealing the truth. Howbeit, this explanation could only be accepted in two cases. Either the expression Yahweh is without doubt the only possible rendering of the cuneiform groups discussed, and this, as we have just indicated, is not the case. Let's go back to the screen. We can show it now. Or, let me finish this paragraph. Or, it must be possible to show in some other way the divine appellation Yahweh was known among the Canaanites. Okay, well that's a no-brainer. Of course it was. I mean, it was the time of Abraham. Of course the name of the mighty one, the Most High, of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob were there. That's, they all came out of the flood. Okay, we're on the last paragraph. With respect to the latter suggestion, W. Max Mueller, in his work Asien und Europa, page 312, has remarked that as early as the reign of, this guy's name, Thutmose III, at the latest in the 16th century, there occurs in West Palestine a place name, and he goes into this name, and it's not necessarily that we need to look at that. Okay. With respect to, maybe we do. At the latest in the 16th century BC, there occurs in West Palestine the place name of Bataya, or Bataya, Beitia, or Beitiya'a. Okay. That's all divided up different and got different letters. That's interesting. From this single fact, he ventures to conclude that in Middle Palestine, Yahu was looked upon as a chief mighty one. But the name of the city mentioned by W. Max Mueller would not in the least prove that the divine name Yahweh was known to the Canaanites. Again, we don't have any problem that it might have been known to the Canaanites. And how utterly improbable that it should be is shown to us by other testimony. For instance, did not Moses, in the name of Yahweh, lead the children of Israel to Canaan with the fundamental command that they were not to serve other mighty ones? What, moreover, was Israel's watchword after Moses' time in the struggle against Canaan? It was the name of Yahweh, rendered L-O-R-D in the English version. The sword of the L-O-R-D and of Gideon ran the battle cry of Israel. Why, too, had Elijah the prophet of Yahweh to endure that great struggle in religious history with the priests of Baal, the sun mighty one, that was on Mount Carmel. It was because the worship of Baal in Israel had been discouraged by the Canaanitess Jezebel. Can then the Canaanitess themselves have been worshippers of Yahweh? That is not in the least probable. So if they were worshiping Baal, they were not worshiping the mighty one of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. Could that name have been there? Absolutely would have. We have no problem with it being in the Canaanite time, in the Canaanite land, in the kingdom of Hammurabi during the time of Abraham. But is this something they were writing on these tablets and they were calling him their mighty one? That mighty one. But may I be allowed to submit another attempt to interpret Delitzsch's upper line, which is Ya'avelu, of cuneiform writing? Might not, or maybe it's the U one, I could be wrong. Might not Ya'ami'elu have meant and have been a cuneiform reproduction of the name Yami-Elu? The meaning of which would be, may God protect. This was my first thought. For in the Babylonian and Assyrian, the spiritus lenis, here represented by the comma above the A, which we saw, I don't know if we can see it here or not. Nope, it's not there. Well, by a comma above the A. Stands for 5 guttural sounds. Okay, get your choice. For the spiritus lenis, the spiritus asper H, the strengthened spiritus asper H, etc. You get your choice in any language, kind of. May also stands for me, e.g. as Shumi occurs for Shemai, my name. May not then Ya'ami-Elu be a cuneiform equivalent of the name Yami-Elu? And this name has been found in inscriptions of the South Arabian nations, Sabaean and Manaean, with which the Hammurabi dynasty may have been connected. Since the appearance of the first edition of this sketch, H. Winkler has written that the name of the Old Testament deity Yahweh, or Yahu, is that of a Canaanite deity, is well known. This statement conceals the facts of the case. What was known up to 1898, I have already pointed out above, page 80. But what Delitzsch asserted in 1902, namely that the name Yahweh occurs in the cuneiform writings, is not merely new to me, but also to Wallace Budge, G. Margoliouth, C. Bezold, H.V. Hilprecht, J. Havele, and J. Operat. Jensen partly allows Delitzsch's interpretation of the cuneiform group when he writes, a name there is written Yahweh, I-E-U, I-L-U, to be pronounced Yahweh, I-E-U, okay. I'm not going to say that. For which Delitzsch arbitrarily reads Yahweh Elu and Yahu Elu. It is now highly probable that both groups contain the divine name Yahweh, Yahu. Since, however, the Yahu in the name cannot be Assyrian or Babylonian, it must be of foreign origin, and therefore, as the whole name was most probably Canaanite, the bearer or bearers of the name was a Canaanite also. Here, Jensen, for once, see above page 39, accommodates himself to the terminology of Winkler and Delitzsch. Okay, so this guy's got the opinion on the other side. Somewhat. But because a Mueller or a Schultz appears in Paris, we do not therefore conclude that the ruling people in Paris are German, and as little does the appearance of Yahu Ilu in Babylon before 2000 BC show anything more than the bearer of this name might occasionally have come to Babylon. Okay, we've got no problem with them being in Babylon. The correctness of Delitzsch's interpretation of that cuneiform group has been doubted or disputed by Assyriologists like H.V. Hilprecht and H. Zimmerman, whom Kittel has cited. Dr. Wallace Budge, who in a card to me designated Delitzsch's opinion as fantastic, J. Halavy in his Revue Sémitique, and Carl Bezold, who in a paper read before the International Congress of Orientalists showed that the interpretation chosen by Delitzsch is uncertain, if not quite impossible. J. Bart's exposition, Babel, etc., page 16, is also of importance. He supposes that the name in the cuneiform group is Yahweh Elu, God gives life. Jachis, too, has lately stated his reasons against Delitzsch's view in Zeitschrift für Kielschriftforschung, page 403. From all this, we see that it is neither proved, nor is it at all likely that divine name Yahweh, the existing, was in use among the Canaanite tribes in Babylonia, and no contradiction has been proved to the abiding conviction of the Hebrews, which expressed itself, for example, in their shibboleth, Yahweh is our God. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop. So you see both sides of the story. Were they there? Weren't they there? Is it El is this? Is it El is that? Is it a nominative? Is it some other thing that's on there? So we kind of see both sides of the story. Do we agree they were in Canaan? Do we agree they were in Babylon? Where did we get this VE from? Is it German? Does it change to a W in English? Or did it start out as something else? Okay, so that's what we're going to read on that. Stephanie, do you have anything you want to say? Okay. So I want to read this little piece here in Delitzsch's book. It's 191 on my Google. It's page 150. This contains lectures 1 and 2. Then it contains the Struggle for Babylon Bible. Then it contains lecture 3. I think this piece right here comes out of the portion of the Struggle for Babylon Bible. You can see in that portion for the Struggle for Babylon Bible why some other people have come against his pronunciation, and then you can see Delitzsch's response to them. It's a constant back and forth. In order to at least correct this ignorance of Yahweh can be the only one that is regarded as true in that section, I beg to make the following brief and condensed exposition of the matter for the benefit of my theological critics and of certain of the Assyriologists who have volunteered to advise them. The sign VU, where did that come from? Has the following Sibyllic values. Obviously, I can't say that word. Pitaltutam. Okay. And besides, in Babylonian particular, ME/VE, MA/VA, A, parenthesis, VU. Or as would be better, VEVAA, parenthesis, VU. So it's better that it's not a VU. It's better that it's a VA or an A or a VE. But anyone who has become measurably familiar with the style of writing of Hammurabi period knows that even if the reading Yahuwah be granted, this ma cannot possibly be interpreted as the emphasizing particle ma. And he goes on to say why this one can't, and why the pi is a di, and the di is a p, and the c is an x. I mean, he doesn't say c is an x. I'm just... And you can go read this section for yourself, and go study the cuneiform and look at the language. We have lots of opinions out here. Is Delich on the side for the mighty one of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob? Yes, we are 100% for being on that side. But is that the way that was pronounced? Is that what was said? And is that who that is on the tablets? That is the question. Because if you have Hava, then you have to have some people that were there that were not of Babylonian or Assyrian. But do you have the V? Do you have VE? Do you have Hava in it? Stephanie, you got anything? Okay. All right, so we've read that. So now I want to go to an extra reference that I have, which well, no. Maybe. Let me scroll down to it here. Okay. All right. This is a reference from a ministry who I'm going to remain nameless. Just because I am. My reasons just, I guess, don't really make a difference. I just think it's the right thing to do. And this article is in Coming Against Yehovah as its main premise for being written. Having said this, there are some Hebrew students and scholars who have noticed that a natural progression of Hebrew language is to shorten initial vowels whenever an accent is on the later syllables of the Hebrew words. This tendency is said to result in the Y''Hoshua or Yehoshua pronunciation. Yahweh's name was considered to be very important to pronounce, and ancient evidence suggests that they did not shorten or eliminate the sounds in Yahweh's name. Cuneiform tablets also containing vowels were discovered near the Ishtar Gate in Babylon, which gives a list of workers and captives to whom the rations were given. Cuneiform scripts contain vowels. In addition to validating the biblical account in 2 Kings 25, 27-29, where it mentions that Yahuwah ate at the king's table, these tablets help to establish the way the names were pronounced before the Masoretic scribes inserted their vowel pointing based on tradition. Yahukin in the land of Yahud, Jehoiakim in the land of Judah, the New Unger Bible Dictionary. Also, a family of Jewish businessmen living in the Mesopotamian city of Kippur in the 5th century BC, left behind a collection of clay tablets recording their commercial transactions. The clay tablets, known as the Murashu documents, contain vowels and list the names of about 70 Jewish settlers in Persia. The Hebrew names, which begin with YHWH, are written Yahu and never Yeho. In the cuneiform texts, Yeho, YHW, Yo, or YW, and Yah, YH, are written as Yahu. For example, the names of Jehu, Yahuah, Yahonahaz, Yahukahazi, and Hezekiah, Hezekiah, A.H. Sasi, in Higher Criticism on page 87. The evidence from the Murashu documents thus corresponds to that from other sources. After the exile, the ordinary form of the divine name used as an initial theophorus element was Yahu. Patterns in Jewish personal names in the Babylonian Diaspora, Volume 4, Issue 2. Notice that not only were names beginning with Yeho written as Yahu, but also names beginning with Y-O, such as Yochanan, John, and Yoel, Joel, were written as Yahu. This indicates that John and Joel were originally pronounced Yahukanan and Yahuel. Isn't that beautiful? A third witness is found in the inscription of the Assyrian monarch Tiglath-Pileser III. Gresman Builder 348, A-Net 282a. When listing those kings who were paying tribute to the Assyrian king, it mentions Yahuazai, also known as Ahaz. Various lexicons, such as the New Brown Driver Briggs Jacenius Hebrew English Lexicon, page 219b, and the Hebrew Aramaic Lexicon of the Old Testament under Ahaz, mention this inscription as well. With all the evidence, it becomes clear that the name was never originally pronounced Yehoshua. Rather, Yahushua is more the correct, and there is no reason to mispronounce the Heavenly Father's name when speaking the name of His Son. Let me read that again. And there is no reason to mispronounce the Heavenly Father's name when speaking the name of His Son. Just as the names which end with the reference to Yahweh correctly convey the Father's name, Zechariah, Zechariahu, so do the names which begin with it, which he just told us was Yahu. Okay? We're going to come back to the thing on Zechariah here shortly. Okay, so that was the extra reference. So the other thing I want to show here in the cuneiform, Stephanie, do you have something? Okay. Let's go down one. So I said, well, if this is going to be a pagan mighty one, let's find a pagan site. Let's see what the pagan site says, okay? Do I encourage everybody to go here? Not especially. But they're talking about language and the mighty ones that have come down through paganisticity. You know, are they tying it to Yah? Yes, they are. When they came out of Babylon, that tower went down, okay? And Yah scattered them everywhere. They still had some of this with them. Did it become all kinds of other things? Let's find out. This is from naturepagan.com. Yahu. Yahu has a variety of spellings because its two letters, Yod-He, are dual use in Akkadian. Let me check something here. Hold on. Okay. All right, we're still live. We're doing good. Start that again. Yahu has a variety of spellings because its two letters, Yod-He, are dual use in Akkadian, and He is actually a slurred guttural stop represented by the letter ayin. What? Additionally, the vowel sounds for Yod, I, and He, E, say A, were often indistinguishable during the alphabetic Akkadian era. Guess you had to have a good ear. The Yahoo variants are found in ancient texts ranging from the Levant to Italy and can be located using the alphabetic Akkadian lexicon. The variants are IH or YH, Akkadian IH, the God Yahoo or Yahoo, the I, Akkadian I, the God Iu, IA, the Akkadian IA, the God Iyahu. I may be pronouncing these wrong. I might be using an indistinguishable variant. Number 4, E, Akkadian or maybe it's an the God Eu, EA, the Akkadian Iya, the God Iya. After 800 BCE, as U endings started to be dropped, and the IN became dual use with the A. In proper Akkadian grammar, dual use letters or vowels when they begin or end a word as a grammatical ending, and consonants in the middle of a word. Okay, they're not addressing diphthongs here, but we'll get there. Alphabetic, actually they don't know what anyway. We'll keep going. Alphabetic Akkadian has no inner vowels. So what are they going to do with it? Even if it was a vowel in the middle, it has no inner vowels. An Akkadian noun typically has a U ending, but by the time of the Aramaic Hebrew around 600 BCE, the noun ending U was commonly being dropped. Okay, and I know that's just speaking about an ending there and an ending being dropped, but you're looking at, now they're saying there's no inner vowels in cuneiform. We just saw Delitzsch said it was a VU in the middle, or WU, or whatever they said. And then we saw a whole bunch in that reading I did where we had IEU. So they could make their vowels up along the way. Let's do whatever we want. I think the one thing I do want to mention here is if that's not Hava in their existence, that was not a Babylonian or Assyrian word, it would have been a Canaanite loan word. Was it that or wasn't it that? Because now we've got places where there aren't no vowels in the middle. Well, what did they do? They started dropping stuff. And then we wonder, and we're going to talk about this more later, what happened to all these vowels? Where did they go? Was it all consonants? Were these pure abjad languages, or were they impure abjad languages? One's all consonants and one's got some letters that serves as consonants and vowels. Something served as a vowel somewhere along the way. So who sucked the vowels out of these along the way? Because we're looking just at endings here that are dropping U's. We've got Yahoo Amalu. Where'd that U get in there? And maybe that was before the ending started to be dropped in the number 5 here. So what happened to the vowels above when we were at the time of during all time? Because their language has changed as well. All right, Stephanie, you got anything? Are you on mute? Okay. One more thing from the Nature Pagan page. Ancient pagan deities, if that was what was on that tablet, or if it was Yah Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, we see that there could have been a U or an E or an A or something got dropped. Ancient pagan deities, who they would have worshipped, could be either perceived as either people or as clusters of powers. We got some superheroes going on. If the underlying power of a deity wanted to be emphasized, its name was given a possessed grammatical ending. In Sumerian and Semitic languages, such an ending was added to the words to show they were owned. Since a deity cannot be owned, such an ending on a deity's name represented its realm of power, its land, and its space. Ownership identification has a different linguistic construction in the Indo-European languages like English, in which the owner gets the ending. Instead of the thing owned, Thus, the owner gets apostrophe S put on the end of its name. We all know that. In Akkadian, these sorts of possessed grammatical endings included vowels like I and E. So if the underlying power of Yahu was desired, then it became Yahui. Because Akkadian prohibits inner vowels, this becomes Yahweh. In Hebrew, with no strict rules about dual-use letters, the ending later became YHWH, or in English, Yahweh. So, does this prove it either way? No. But it should raise questions in people's mind. I think we see a big, huge leaning towards a U and towards vowels, and G-O-D is G-O-D, L is L. I think we see a big leaning towards we've had some change throughout time. And we're going to see that more in the Egyptian section. We just wanted to address the cuneiform because that was addressed in another video, to show that is not the only interpretation. It might not be the mighty one of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. And if it was, it might not be the way it was pronounced. And if it's not, then it's not. Stephanie, that's the end of the cuneiform. What have you to say, ma'am? Hey, I see your lamp. You got the camera backwards.
I know, I was trying to take myself off mute. So, yeah, I mean, we see that it's kind of all conjecture on people's part when you come to the cuneiform. And there's back and forth, just kind of like what we have happening now. And I think it's a great thing to go through these different forms and see where people have landed and the truth of all of that being brought up. So.
Okay.
You want to continue on?
It's up to you.
How are you doing?
I'm A-okay.
You okay?
Yeah, up to you. You want to
I'm
go?
Okay. Yep, I'm still okay.
All right, so we're going to head into the Egyptian next. Get over here. And this is going to be a lot easier to see, a lot easier to comprehend than the cuneiform was. So let's go to the slide. First thing we're going to look at, we're going to go to Wikipedia. And if you have Wikipedia, please pull this up. Please look along with us. We're going to start in Wikipedia. It's just got the best rendering of the word, and we can, kind of click on a couple places and go where we need to go. So we'll pull that up. Shasu of, here at the bottom, YHWH. They say this little guy here shows about prisoners. They were prisoners at this time, etc., etc. Okay, we're not against this being, well, we're not for or against. It just is what it is. This being the name of the mighty one of Yisrael. So, here it is. It starts here. This means they're in the land, ta. We have sa, su, wa. Ya, wawa, ya, wa, Okay, that's what we have today. So let's go look at this. This is the backwards rope. These are the two letters we're gonna really dwell on because ya, we can all agree on that. Well, yeah, most people can agree on that. Let me say that. So here we have the backwards rope, and it's V4, and they've got it as a WA. Let's go look at this V4. Okay, here we have our backwards rope. It's a lasso. Here we have a UA and a W. This is a bilateral in Egyptian. Of course, it says it represents a specific sequence, I want you to remember this, of two consonants. 2 consonants. Okay? This right here is little duckadee, little quail man, little chickadee man. I've come to like this little guy. And they say he's a W. And click on him. And let's see, that's the bird. Here's the little chickadee quail guy down here. He's represented by, pardon me, the little quail chick, or the backwards closed apostrophe. The transcription says W, but we're to say W or U, called wa'u. Old Egyptian, we have a W. These are phonetic values per Allen in 2000. Where do we get phonetic values? Phonetic values is an alphabetic system of phonetic notation based primarily on the Latin alphabet. It was devised by the International Phonetic Association in the late 19th century as a standardized representation of the sounds of a spoken language. So these people, based on their Latin, says this is a W, but yet here we see WU, here it's called a wa'u. I feel like there was somewhere else I was going on here. Anyway, so we can see we've got WU, we saw that we had a UA, and we saw that we had a W. But they have chosen WA, W. Okay. Now we'll come back to this at the end of going through the Egyptian stuff, and we'll look at this again. I should have left that up. All right. Moving on to the next slide. This is from a book called Understanding Hieroglyphics by Hilary Wilson. This is the cartouche. A cartouche was a name of kings or queens or important people. Kings and queens mostly. Yeah, kings and queens. I don't know if there was anybody else in a cartouche. That's really irrelevant. Here we have Ptolemy. I thought it was a W-A. How did we get an O? Ptolemies. Ptolemus. Here we have, on the right, Cleopatra. Cleopatra. Here we have an O. Over here on this chart, I don't know what page it's on in here, we can see in the book that our little chickadee guy is a U or a W. And so is our backwards quotation mark a U or a W. Okay, so those are some of the symbols those are the symbols we were looking at in the on the Wikipedia page. So we're going to read from page 30 in this book. Paragraph 1. Egyptian was an unpointed language, as are printed Arabic and Hebrew, or at least they were at one point, meaning they are written without vowels. Well, okay. Figure 10, opposite, that's that picture of the chart with the letters, shows the hieroglyphic signs now recognized as being alphabetic. Approximate sound values have been given for each of the signs, which include some semi-vowels or weak consonants. So there's really no vowels. That A there in that first square, it's not really a vowel. It's a semi-vowel or a weak consonant. That U, where the UW is, that's not a vowel. Come on. Approximate sound values have been given for each of the signs, which include some semi-vowels or weak consonants like aleph and ayin of Arabic, both of which may be pronounced as ah. In cases where vowels are necessary to pronounce the now listen to this carefully. In cases where vowels are necessary to pronunciation, the modern convention is to insert the letter E. Just insert an E. You don't know what it is, you just insert an E. It's the same thing in Hebrew. You have two consonants together. You've now made up your implied vowel to put in the middle. So that the word for name in Egyptian, which is spelled R-N, is usually pronounced Ren, R-E-N. This does not mean that this is how the word was spoken. It is simply a convenient aid to students of ancient Egyptian. Neither does it indicate that the E was the most common vowel used in the ancient tongue. I wonder what we inherited from that. This practice is no more than a recently accepted means of vocalizing the language. In fact, there are very few clues as to how the language sounded. So modern pronunciation is largely a matter of educated guesswork and the source of much learned discussion, not to say argument. Page 32, paragraphs 1 through 4. All right. Champollion, who is the one who was able to transcribe the cartouches that you see there on the screen, concentrated on the hieroglyphic inscription and was the first to realize that there were far too individual hieroglyphics, speaking of the cartouches we see, for the script to be purely pictorial, and yet too many for it to be entirely phonetic. He also noticed that the position of names within the Greek text could correspond with the oval cartouches, which clearly marked out important words or phrases in the hieroglyphic section. Because what he was working with was stones that had 3 languages on them, one of which was Greek. It was therefore the names on the Rosetta Stone inscription which gave the clue to the decipherment of the hieroglyphic script as a whole. The values assigned by Champollion to the hieroglyphics in the names Ptolemy and Cleopatra were based on the correct assumption that, of being of foreign origin, Macedonian Greek, because the Greeks took over the land, they would have no meaning in the Egyptian language and would have had to be spelled out phonetically. Thus, he identified some signs as vowels, which, in light of later studies, have been shown to be weak consonants or bilateral signs, so they're not really vowels, but they're vowels. The O in Ptolemy and Cleopatra is indicated by a looped rope or lasso, which has the phonetic value WA. And there are 2 different signs used where a T would be expected, which indicates that one, now recognized as a D, was pronounced somewhat more softly than the other. I wish I could remember what that thing said we read. Anyway, indistinguishable maybe. The lion symbol, to which Champollion assigned the value L, was in fact an Egyptian compromise. Oh, great. As in Japanese, the sound L does not occur in ancient Egyptian, then the Egyptians had great difficulty in pronouncing this consonant. In foreign words or names, the L was usually replaced by R or a compound RW, the latter being the phonetic value of the lion sign. Altogether, this gives the impression that the Egyptians pronounced the names Pit War Wumus, Ptolemaeus, and Kerwiwapadra, Cleopatra. I heard vowels in there. Kerwiwapatra. This is one of the clues to the ancient pronunciation of the language. Okay. Further ideas can be gained. I hope you guys heard that. How they didn't know and they don't know, and it's this and it's that and this has changed, but this is a clue. Further ideas can be gained from the writings of classical authors who Hellenized and Latinized Egyptian names to make life easier for their readers. This Hellenization could be said to have started with Herodotus Herodotus, who visited Egypt around 400 BC. He was the sort of tourist still adored by modern guides. He soaked up everything he was told and reported it in his histories for the readers to draw their own conclusions as to what was true and what was fantasy. The Egyptian priest Manetho also wrote in Greek and used names which came more easily to Greek tongues. These Hellenized names are still in common use, so the mighty female one, Astat, or Istet, became Isis, and her husband, Wusser, became known as Osiris, because you couldn't have a vowel. The kings of Menetop, are often called Amenophois, and in the city of Menefer is always referred to as Memphis. Those are quite some changes. Although these have changed from their Egyptian forms, they are not so different as to completely hide the original pronunciation. The mighty one Amen, we're not going to go there, had his name written as Amen in Egyptian, but the Romans worshipped him as Amen, associating him with Jupiter. This gives a very good idea of how they heard the name and how it could be vocalized today. We went from Amen to Imin to Aman. You notice that the changes are in the vowels in that? However, the same mighty one may have had his name spelled out as Amen, Amon, or Amun. The last being pronounced in recent years as Amun. There seems to be no justification for the use of any one of these in preference to any other, since the vowel between the M and the N was not written in the hieroglyphic form. In this book, the spelling preferred is Amen, continuing the use for the inserted E for the ease of pronunciation. Because the Greeks and Romans tried to associate Egyptian mighty ones with the deities of the classical pantheon, or perhaps because they could not get their tongues around the original name, the names of some mighty ones have become corrupted beyond recognition. The ibis headed god of writing is known as Thoth, which was altered by the Greeks from the Egyptian Dejetui. By modern convention, the Greek version of this name is used in personal names, but it still may occur in several different spellings. The royal name Thutmose may be written as Tuthmosis, Thutmose, Totmes, or even Tahutames. The last is, in fact, closest to the original pronunciation, as far as can be judged. That's great. It's got a U in it. Strangely, when the same name is given to a non-royal person, it is usually transcribed as something even closer to the Egyptian Dejetum times. It is also one of the names which could be used by both men and women without an ending to indicate gender. Okay, so there we see we've inherited, this is real simple, we've inherited a mess. We've inherited a mess. Nonetheless, we're going to continue on and show you some more things about the Egyptian and what people have said throughout times. We're going to go in this book to page 35, and we're going to read paragraphs apparently 2 and 3. Coptic, being the last spoken version of the ancient Egyptian, can also give some guide as to how words may be pronounced. By comparing Coptic words with the alphabetic hieroglyphics, it is possible to explain the choice of a sign to represent a particular sound. The Coptic word for mouth is ro, and the mouth sign in Egyptian was used for the consonant R. This is a simple principle, R for ro, like R for rabbit in English, or R for heroi in French. Unfortunately, Coptic itself was a dying language, even in Champlain's time, when it was understood and used by only diminishing communities of Coptic Christian monks. It also has to be appreciated that Coptic was the latest and therefore the most corrupt form of the tongue. The language spoken by a Copt, and that by a man from the Old Kingdom, was separated by more than 2,000 years. Compare how much English has changed in the same length of time. Not many ordinary people would be able to understand Anglo-Saxon, Old English, or Chaucerian Middle English, and even Elizabethan English, as used by Shakespeare. This causes many headaches for many modern school children. Such are some of the complexities of the pronunciation of Egyptian names. It has to be accepted that no one today can accurately vocalize the ancient Egyptian language. Ancient Egyptian cannot be spoken. Such as it remains, it is only a written language that may be read with greater or lesser ease, depending on the style of the script and the period in which it was written. The elements of the language, which changed least throughout the 3500 period of dynastic history, were names, titles, and numbers, which make a study of these an ideal starting point for anyone wishing to learn about the script. Our modern attempts to pronounce ancient Egyptian names are entirely in tune with the Egyptian belief in the power of the name. Read that again. Our modern attempts to pronounce ancient Egyptian names are entirely in tune with the Egyptian belief in the power of the name. 20th century accents may be very poor, but our intentions are good. So, that was a lot of information, Stephanie.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't really have much to add. It's just, you're inserting because you don't know the vowel sounds. So it's an educated guess based on, that one tablet that he was, translating with the 3 languages on it.
Okay, so we'll go to the next one slide here. Now, this is your rope. Just a minute. I need to see something here. Yeah, see, there's the rope. There's the rope. Here's our rope. They've got it as, this is the A in father. Wa-ah, wa-ah, ya wa-ah. Okay, that ain't working. These are some examples here, and I'm going to go over these examples in a minute. First, I want to read you some information out of this Egyptian hieroglyphics, how to read and write them, by Stefane Hrozzini. We're going to go to page 8 and read 2C. And this is on the next page. Oh, wait. Oh, I've got it on here. Yeah, here it is. All right. The phonetic complement. This is what they say is part of the Egyptian language. It's called a phonetic complement, a reading aid. You can read along with, maybe you can zoom in. The phonetic signs, phonograms, used to write a word may be all monoliteral. That means it may be letter, 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 or a varied combination of mono, bi, or triliteral signs. What that means is you may have a letter, like the little ducky quail chick was a U or a W. Then you might have a bilateral sign, which like the backwards rope, they say is a WA. Or you might have a trilateral sign, which is 3 letters that run together. But there is also what is called a phonetic complement. That's that owl you see on there. This does not occur in words written completely in monoliteral, so it has to occur. The complement has to occur in a bilateral or a triliteral word, which the rope again is a WA, 2 letters, thus bi, thus it's a biliteral letter. It only accompanies bi and triliterals and there may be several within one word. It may be positioned before the by and triliteral. It accompanies, or after it, or above it, or below it, or encircling it. The phonetic complement itself may be monoliteral or biliteral. Very rarely is it triliteral. Thus, the biliteral sign KM, which on the screen is right here. So this is their biliteral sign. Like the rope was a WA, this sign meant kum, 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 kum. Is frequently followed by the monoliteral, which is an owl, which is the equivalent to the sound M. This combination, the first sign is the root, KM, and the second owl is the sign, is its phonetic complement. In such case, when transcribing, we do not add the phonetic complement, we write KM, not KMM. In other words, the phonetic complement is merely a visual reminder or reinforcement of the terminal sound of the bilateral it follows. Phonetic complements are frequently used, so they must be recognized as such. This is easy once you have thoroughly learned the roots, the basic structural elements of the phonetic composition of words. The complements make the reading of the sign more specific. They complete it. They are especially useful when one and the same sign is susceptible of more than one pronunciation. Such hieroglyphics, which can be transcribed in different ways, are all called polyphones, and the phonetic complement shows which reading is intended. Conversely, certain hieroglyphs that do not look alike nevertheless have the same pronunciation and transcription. These are called homophones. Lastly, the phonetic complements provide a graphic balance in the writing system. This was very important for the aesthetic quality of the writing, in which a constant concern for the scribes. So we have sometimes what's known as a phonetic complement at the end to show, and this book says, we're going to find out some other book says something different. This book says it's to tell us what the final sound that we are to transcribe. We write KM, not KMM, because it's a phonetic, a spoken complement. We need to know that that's an M at the end. Could it be something else? I can't answer that. I didn't study this word out. I don't know. Okay, so now we're going to go to page, or stay on the same page. And I don't have this one. This one will be like the Semitic writing systems. Let me go back up here in this PowerPoint before we keep going. Like the Semitic writing systems, Arabic and Hebrew, Egyptian hieroglyphics do not indicate vowel sounds. The transcriptions A, I, Y, and W used in this book are semivowels, but basically consonants. Did that make any sense to anybody? They're not vowels. They're semivowels, but they're basically consonants. What hieroglyphics reveal to us is the consonantal structure of the language, its skeleton, generally devoid of any vowels. Therefore, by international convention, it was decided to facilitate reading by adding, here we have it again, an E sound pronounced like the E in et between the consonants. PN becomes pin, TN becomes ten. Those are the sounds, not the meanings of those words. When circumstances dictate it, the E can precede the first consonant. Thus, the consonant sequence, NTY, is said to be read NT. But where the letters A and A occur, they can be read as an A sound pronounced like the A in father or the A in palm, without the addition of the E sound. Thus, AB and Ra'ah, the Sun Mighty One, which we have seen above, equals Ra'ah. You don't need to put an E anywhere. Don't confuse yourself. This code is purely conventional, with a strictly practical purpose. and does not indicate the vowel sounds that were actually spoken in these cases by ancient Egyptian. The actual vowels are often not known in spite of comparisons with the Coptic language, the last stage in the evolution of ancient Egyptian, the pronunciation of Coptic being well known. In transcribing a word, each identified phonetic sign is transcribed, and the Roman letter equivalent sounds are written in the same order as the hieroglyphics. Go Rome. The plural of a word is indicated by 3 small strokes, transcribed phonetically by the sound W. All right, that's all I'm going to read out of here. Here's the chart that's in this book. Here we have, remember we had the WA, and we had the, I'm going to call it an end quote, the accent mark going that way over that A. And here we have another A. So this one, the one with the ticky mark going that way, is pronounced like the ah in father. So if you've got a rope and it's a WA, it's Yahweh ah, Yahweh ah, if that's the convention that you're going with. Like all Egyptian letters, this really stands for a consonant. It's not really a vowel. But in this case, a very lightly pronounced one. So what we do in English, not all vowels are pronounced the same. They're still vowels. A catch in the voice, like the one preceding each syllable of the warning exclamation, uh-oh, uh-uh. Some, remember this part, we're going to see this in a minute, I think. In some books, the symbol for this letter is kind of like a double apostrophe. I'm going to call it a number 3. Okay, apparently I didn't write down the other one. So that's the A that we see. The other A with the accent that goes like an open quote is the A sound in This this is what it says about the other one. This actual consonant, the actual consonant this represents is a catch in the voice. So again, this other A is a consonant. Produced much deeper down in the throat. In some books, the symbol for that one is a large reversed apostrophe. Okay? Okay. In this book, we see the W. Sometimes we're going to see a W3, which makes the same sound as the rope they're saying. Wa with the A in father. Pronounced like the W in water, or like the U in rule, ooh, depending on the circumstances. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on there. So here we've got, in this book, I have no idea what page it's on. Let's see if I can find it. So I can pull it up and look at it. Oh, next page, that's good. So here we have, I'm just going to show you how this bilateral thing works. The first sign is bilateral in form of an animal skin pierced by an arrow. It stands for the 2 consonants ST, to be pronounced as set. The second sign, the small semicircle, depicting a loaf of bread, stands for the single sound T. It is the phonetic complement of the ST sign, and it is not to be pronounced individually. The third sign, the quail, stands for the single sound W. Remember that, single sound W. The fourth sign is another T, this time pronounced on its own. The determinant is the solar disk with the 3 rays. The whole word, written STWT, is pronounced set-ut, set-ut. So they put a U in here. I don't know if I'm going to read it or not. So they put that vowel in there instead of a W because that's easier for us to pronounce. That's what they say. Set-ut, meaning rays or sunbeams. Isn't that interesting? So there were vowels in there. We're going to pronounce it set-ut, not I can't even do it without a vowel. Make up your own vowel. Do whatever you want. Okay, next. All right, I'll quit some of that now. Okay, so here we are back to our infamous rope. Okay? So here we've got father, t, t, t. Here's our What's this bird doing here? This bird, and I didn't put it up here, but I'll show you what this bird is. I don't know if we can. Oh yeah, maybe we can see it. There's your bird, right? There is the bird guy. Can you see him, Steph? Okay, I guess that's... Can you hear me, Steph? Okay, here's the bird. All right, this is the same bird we got up there. In Egyptian, they say it didn't matter how the bird was colored, as long as it was that shape. I can't answer whether that's true or not. I have no idea. But that bird that I just showed you, if you noticed, he has the same as So this, in my opinion, would be a phonetic complement. This would be your T. We saw that in the last thing. This right here is a picture of a road. Today we would probably call that a way. So we've went from wa'at, which means a road. Now we call it way. What happened here with this A? I'm not saying what way it went. I have no idea how it got to where it's at. It just reminded me of the word way. Next one's going to remind me of the same thing. Here we've got wa'aw. We've got our same deal. Same bird, he just got a little different coloring. What's this guy at the end? He's a W or a U. So we've got wa'awa. Got wa'au. I know coming up in Greek we've got wa'u. But here we've got wa'awa. And here's our waves. This is a picture of our waves. So they are bent to the fact that this is an ah. Well, if this is an ah, and you go back to, well, yeah, let's go back and look at it now, because that'll help. I hope. If we go back to the Wikipedia Sashu page, they've got the rope. So now we've got wa. Because I thought that if this is a phonetic complement, if it's a phonetic complement. If it's not a phonetic complement, then it's wa'oo. Wa'oo. Now it said it was showing us what the second consonant was, or what the consonant was, but yet this bird is a U or a W. So now you're looking at, what really does this mean? I could see the look on Stephanie's face. What really does this mean? That doesn't even really jive. Let's continue. Let's see what does look correct. All right, How to Read Egyptian Hieroglyphics by Collier and Manley. Okay. I guess I didn't realize we were going here. Thought we were going somewhere else. Page 3. This is the chart on page 3. Here again. Now see that little 3 there? That's what I wanted to show you. Sometimes you're going to see a W3 instead of for a wa. You're going to see a W3. I don't know if that's coming up or not. I can't remember. But again, here we have the chick. We have a W and a U. Okay, same thing. It was a W, or it could make a U sound. Most of these sounds represent their English counterparts and can be transliterated directly into familiar letters from our own alphabet. However, some one-consonant signs are used to represent sounds not present in spoken or written English, and these require specially adapted transliteration symbols of their own. Okay. So some require one consonant signs are used to represent sounds not present in a spoken or written English. Okay, so there are signs that are in there that require specially adapted transliteration symbols of their own, just so we know that we have those in there. Some of these signs are phonetic symbols all in their own right. Okay, page 4. Paragraph 1. This must be it. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. Here is sometimes where I told you the rope, you were going to see it as a W3. Here it is. Just so you're familiar with it if you see it in another form somewhere else. It's a W3. Okay? This is out of this book. There is no need to try to pronounce ancient Egyptian words exactly. In any case, this is impossible, since the vowels are not written out for us. However, because they're consonants. However, it is useful to be able to read out your transliterations and vocalize whole words rather than spelling them out sign by sign. So a purely conventional pronunciation entirely for our convenience is usually adopted. These renderings are given on another table and another page, which is not relevant to this. Many signs have values similar to letters of our own alphabet and present no problem. Whereas the more usual ones are actually given a convenient English approximation. We also need to add vowels. The convention normally adopted is to insert an E between each consonant, except in cases where this number 3 is, and the backwards closed quote, where an A is used, so you don't need to add an E there, and W, where U is sometimes used, because they are easier to pronounce. Thank you very much. We don't know how to talk. Once again, these pronunciations are purely a practical convenience and are not intended to bear any relation to spoken Egyptian. Okay? I don't know if I put this up here. Let's see if it's on here. No. For example, the following is the word for birds, 3PDW, given with its transliteration and its English meaning. All right, I hope you guys can see this. I should have had a slide for it. I guess I didn't know I was going to read that. It's right here. Okay, let you look at it. Can you see that, Steph? Them little guys in the middle? Put my finger by it here. Okay, see those little guys in the middle there? All right. So everybody get a look at that. See the little chickadee quail towards the end? Purely for our own convenience, we could pronounce this word appendu. Ooh. The bird is a U at the end. Okay? So we've got this option as well. Okay. And we've done that. And we've done... There's nothing on that page I want. Okay, so that was How to Read Egyptian Hieroglyphics by Collier and Manley. We see we have more difference of opinions. This is a picture of Champollien's comparison with Thomas Young's hieroglyphics. He was the one that, Champollion was the one that transcribed, transliterated, put down on paper Ptolemy and Cleopatra. We see right here is his rope. I hope you guys can see what I'm highlighting. This guy here doesn't even think it was a symbol. It just didn't even exist to him. I forgot what it was. Unintelligible. Maybe was the word. Uneligible. I can't remember. Illegible. I can't remember the word he used, but it was a nothing to him. And Champollion says it was a O, O. He's got an O and a U there. What's that? There were no vowels, remember? They were all consonants. And here we've got 2 vowels. So this is what his comparison was to Thomas Young in the 1800s. And this is from, I'll tell you what book this is from. Let me come over here because I don't want to. Let me see if I got it on this paper. Oh, let me tell you what book this is because I don't want to not do that. I got this off archive.org. You can go down there, make an account, download it yourself. By all means. It's an Egyptian hieroglyphic dictionary by Sir E.A. Wallace Budge. Okay. Okay, so we're going to, let me get back to the page I'm going to read off when I get there. Okay, so here is, I'm sure these came out of this book, Simone Levi. He was an Italian Egyptologist. He was in the late 1800s. As you can see, he was trying to connect these with the Hebrew alphabet. Was he correct? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really go through this and look a whole bunch because he wasn't using 2-letter roots. He wasn't using single letters. I didn't take a whole lot of this to heart as far as connecting it to the Hebrew. Be perfectly honest about that. So here we say we've got an ah, or a. Notice the sound for that? Notice the symbol for that? It's got nothing to do with anything we're talking about today. This symbol. For the chick, he's got a U, period. He's got no W. He thought there were vowels in the language. Does he have something else for a W? I don't see anything. Here's his rope. You got something, Steph?
No, I was just going to say that the rope down on the second line is the UA.
Right. Here's where you have that this Egyptologist, when we started out, this was a UA. Right here. Okay. So that's Simone Levi. Okay, so next we're going to go to, we won't spend a lot of times on these slides. I just want to show you the evolution, i.e. de-evolution of language. So here we've got Waterbush by Heinrich Karl Bruggisch in 1867. Okay, so now we've got our 2 A's still. Now our chick is just a U, and still in our main chart, we've got this ooh, you, ooh, ooh-ah, ooh-ah. He's got it. He's got all these things here, okay? And down here, of course, we have vowels and half vowels, so we're starting to move from vowels. Now we're getting down to half vowels here. So down here we got the rope again is a U and a W. But here we've got a U, a UA, and a W. But it's definitely not a vowel. Neither is the A. But they're all vowels. They tell you right here we've got vowels and half vowels. Okay. Here he's, I think he improved himself here. I think that's what the deal is. This was 1867. Is this the same guy? Here he is in 1891. W-U, rope's gone. We're improving now. We got our rope and it's gone. It's a bilateral. Okay, can it be a bilateral? Okay, it can be a bilateral. I got no problem with that. And we still got our chick as a W and a U. Here we move on. We're now in 1894 and 1911. We've got Adolf Ehrman. Dr. Ehrman proposed some modifications of this system of transliterating. He's proposing modifications now of the alphabet. Here we've got our 3. It's no longer an A because we don't want it to be a vowel. Our chick is now just a W. We've lost all form of vowel in here, I think. Let's see. Yeah, we've lost just about every, just about every form of vowel that there is. And in 1911, oh, here's the 1911, he made some more changes. And these were the changes that he made. Okay. This is still out of Budge's dictionary. It's in the introduction on Roman numeral LVIII, if you're looking for this page. Or take the name of the mighty one Horus, which the Egyptians wrote H-E-R, because we're going to put an E in there, because that's the convention. But really his name is Horus. That's what we got anyway. And this is Horus. And this is Horus and all this business here. I didn't look up each of these words, okay? Without adding any vowel. Okay, the Egyptians wrote H-E-R without adding a vowel. The transcriptions of the name in Hebrew, Coptic, and Greek prove that the missing vowel is a long O. But the Egyptian forms of the name give no indication of this fact. Got no idea what's in there. Okay. In the pyramid text, we find the form us. What's this U guy doing here? Maybe he makes him an O in here. Maybe he's a U. I don't know if this is an S. I could look. Anyway, what we got is a mess, bottom line, which was held by one Egyptologist to prove that the mighty one's name terminated in a U. But according to M. Naval's view, which is probably, this guy thinks it's correct, the chick is really the vowel that is wanting in the name, okay? The chick is the vowel that is wanting in the name, which we ought to read or, as in Hebrew, Coptic, and Greek. The same scholar thinks that another example of the use of the chick in this way is found in these other Egyptian words here. As the Coptic form of the word is this right here, the ancient Egyptian form of the word clearly included the vowel long O, and this is proved by the chick, or the backwards guy here. Here's the backwards guy, here's the chick, and here it is in some different forms is what they're saying. So one guy says it's the U that's wanting in the word. This guy says it's an O that's wanting in this other word. In the first two forms of this word here, which I didn't go and look up, I know that's a T, quoted above. It has seemed to me for several years past that the vowel signs which we find in many Egyptian words were intended not to be read necessarily as part of the words, but only to indicate their signification, indicate it, or limit their signification. Okay? So, again, we've got maybe there's a O in there. Maybe the chickadee is the U that's wanting in the vowel that's wanting in the word, the most robust part of that, what comes before it. Maybe it's maybe the vowels limit things. Maybe it's a U at the end, like the other guy said. Okay. And this is something else he says. He also says that he thinks the guy's thing with the W is okay. He says that. Oh, I was going to read that piece. Hang on. Okay. We're going to read the paragraph on LXI. Let me go to that paragraph because I didn't put it up here. I'm almost there. I've got like 6 or 7 programs running on here. well, maybe I've got more tabs open than I have programs running. But I did want to read this paragraph to you guys, because got no problem telling you both sides of their story. Okay. I think it's on 69. Yay. Okay. I'm going to read you part of this paragraph that he wrote. It is sufficient to say that when the actual mistakes in the older system that was used by Birch, Lephius, and Brugish and others are eliminated, it remains, in my opinion, the best that has been proposed. So now we feel like people, it's great they've gotten rid of the vowels. That's what he's saying, because that's what's mostly happened over time. The vowels have been gotten rid of. Imagine that. Wonder who did that. The modifications which I have made in it for the purposes of this book are not in any way intended to be improvements or even corrections. They were made solely with the view of simplifying the transliteration for the use of the beginner and reducing the labor of the compositor. So he gets rid of diacritical marks and retained this symbol for that symbol and done this and done that. So even in some of these dictionaries, we've got different things. And this is what he says on, I can't tell you what page. The sign, the little quail chick, is transliterated U throughout this dictionary. Apparently that was one of those things he didn't think was that great. It is no doubt equivalent to both. I'm thinking that's a wa, oo, and an ooh-ah, and a wa, and I think it is a mistake to transliterate it always by W. Okay? So that's... Okay, so now we're going to go back to our Wikipedia. And we're going to look at this name again. And I'm going to zoom in on it. Okay. All right. Here we got. So according to, I'm going to try to cover each of the conventions we just talked about. We're just going to go from here down. We already know this guy is pronounced like a U up here, even though he's written as a W, because it tells us so right there. Okay, so we're just going to look at this bottom piece here. You've either got ya, wa, 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 ya, wa, hu, wa, you, okay? If you're going to stick with the W-A and a wa, this little chick is not telling you that this is a W. It always is a W if that's what you say that that is. So it's not a phonetic complement. Ya, wa. Could it be telling you it's a W? And I guess it could be telling you it's a W instead of a U. Okay? It could be complementing this. But you're going to have Yahweh. You're not going to have Yahweh. You're going to have Yahweh. It's just that simple. Or else you're going to, if it's not a phonetic complement, you're going to have Yahweh. Yahweh. Okay? Or you're going to have Yahweh. Yahweh. Okay? You're not ever going to get Yahweh. It's not coming out of that. Unless they've changed the to an A, like in we saw waves, and the road was A. Now in English, you've changed it to a long A. You could go there. We also saw that when this originally started out, people thought, scholars thought, writers thought, Egyptologists thought, this was a UA. So now you've got the possibility for Yahuwah. This being telling you this is a U. If it's not a phonetic complement for this bilateral, and this is a U, you've got Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Okay? All those things are possible. But you could also have Yahuwah, okay? Depending on whether this is a phonetic complement to this bilateral, what it's complementing, or even if it is complementing anything, or if it sits on its own. But out of here, in what they say is Egyptian, you can't get away there. You can't get away. You can't get Yahweh. Unless you've changed it as time goes on, or there's some new convention now that says we got a long A in there. Nobody even really has a full handle on it, and now they've taken the vowels away. Okay, so in my humble opinion, this all leans towards a U or a. That's what it leans towards. Am I saying I can slam that hammer down and say that's for sure? I cannot. But it sure leans that direction. Stephanie?
Yep, that's it. I don't have anything else to add to that.
All right. So, let's continue on and see. I don't even know what's coming up next. The Greek language. We had what was called the digamma in the Greek language. Wa'a or wahu. Oh, we just saw that in Egyptian. There might be a U at the end. Became an uppercase F, lowercase f, numeral 6. Is an archaic letter of the Greek alphabet. It originally stood for the sound W, but it has remained in use principally as the Greek numeral for 6. Remember, it originally stood for the sound W. Okay, we're talking about the digamma. Stood for a W. Was it in the 6th position, the same place the 6th letter is in the Hebrew alphabet? Yeah, that's neither here nor there. We saw positions in alphabets change all the time. We saw it in the Egyptian, I believe it was anyway. Whereas it was originally called Wa or Wahu. Its most common appellation in classical Greek is digamma. As a numeral, it was called epsimon during the Byzantine era and is now known as a stigma. After the Byzantine ligature combining sigma and tau as a stigma. Those are those Greek letters there. I'm pretty sure. Digamma, or wa'u, was part of the original archaic Greek alphabet as initially adopted from Phoenician. Some people call it Proto-Canaanite. Some people, anyway, Proto-Semitic, Phoenician. We got to mix up back at that end too. Like its model, Phoenician wa, it represented the voice, label, velar, approximate W, and stood in the 6th position in the alphabet between the epsilon and the zeta. It is the consonantal doublet of the vowel letter upsilon, U, which was also derived from the wa, but was placed near the end of the Greek alphabet. Digamma, or wa'u, is in turn the ancestor of the Latin letter F. As an alphabetic letter, it is attested in archaic and dialectical ancient Greek inscriptions until the classical period. Then it's gone. So we see that this wa that came up didn't just go off into the digamma of a W. It also went off into the U of the letter upsilon. So looking at the letter, how the letter upsilon is pronounced, we're not going to go very far into Greek. The Greek letter upsilon is usually transcribed with a wa-looking sign. That's interesting. But its original sound was like the French U or the German E. Arrange your mouth as though you were about to say the U in glue, and without moving your lips, say E. It sounds like a diphthong to me. And you will have it about right. Okay, my whole point was to show that when this came up in the Greek, we had it splitting off into a W and to a U. And then the dagama, he disappeared. The one for the W disappeared. Just consider this. We're not going to go into it. Most of you have, if you've got this far in this video, most of you have seen this. Native American Indian tribes, you can listen to various tribal leaders, various tribal dances, various tribal songs that sing both to Yahweh and Yahuwah. 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 Yahweh. They're both used. Neither one proves either way. Are some tribes, maybe they're more prominent that they maybe came from a Hebrew? That may be. We can't prove that by genetics today either. And we can get close, but anyway, they use both. So that's not an end all. Though it's indication that there is both. Okay. Stephanie, explain this.
Okay, so there is you can go to YouTube and you can look up Yanni or Laurel. And depending on who's listening, one word is said and you can either hear Yanni or Laurel. And it's interesting to have several people listen to it at the same time and ask people what they hear, because you will have people say for sure they hear one or the other. And it's just one word that's spoken. So it just shows that even though one thing is spoken, it can be interpreted in the hearing of the listener two different ways. So it just shows that our hearing can be skewed.
Kind of like the shibboleth in the scriptures. Okay.
And it brings to mind too about, asking for ears to hear. Sometimes we don't understand why people don't hear what we're trying to say. And it's because they don't have ears to hear. You have to be able to hear what's being said. And it's just another proof of that. Some people just cannot hear what you're saying. You might be saying Laurel and they're hearing Yanni, or vice versa. And when we speak to people, we might be trying to share the truth to them, but they're not able to hear it. And it's just interesting. I encourage people to go and look that up and do that themselves.
Okay, so we're going to give you a live example. Potato.
Potato.
Tomato.
Tomato.
Pajamas.
Pajamas.
Those were all vowels. All right, now we're going to dive into the Hebrew a little bit. We're not going to do a lot here. So much has been done about this. Your third masculine peel stem with the dot above and the dash below. And if you need to go look all that up, you can. It's kind of why we started where we started. Because now we're into the period of the Hebrew where we've got this Masoretic text and these implied vowels. And we've got them from the very beginning. But we're going to show you some things about the Hebrew. We're going to go into some of it. So this is from the unedited full text of the 1906 Jewish Encyclopedia. It says Wa. Online it was redirected from Vav. That just spoke volumes to me in itself. Stephanie, you want to read that?
Sure. The sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The name possibly means nail or hook, and is the shape of the letter of the Phoenician alphabet that resembles a hook. Wa is a labile aspirant, identical sound to the English W, which preceded with the label vowel U. It blends it with the UW, the result being a long U sound. And when an A vowel precedes it, the two form a diphthong, AU. which in Hebrew has passed into O. At the beginning of a word, a position it rarely has in Hebrew, wa, retains its consonantal value, except when followed by
any of those Hebrew letters.
A letter with a simple shua. As the first letter of the verb stems, it has been replaced in the Hebrew almost everywhere by yod as a numerical. In the later period, wa has a value of 6.
Okay. Here we got diphthongs. And we've also got, let's look at what they did. They admit it themselves. They admit it in the 1901, I do believe, right below. As the first letter of a verb stem, of verb stems, it has been replaced in Hebrew almost entirely everywhere by a yod. Taken out was, put in yods, removed hays, added dots, put in dashes. Once again, do whatever you want to do. Okay, that's 1901 pretty much said the same thing. All right. Keep going, Steph.
Okay, so a diphthong is a sound formed by the combination of two vowels in a single syllable, in which the sound begins as one vowel and moves into another. So you have this sliding of one into another, as in coin, loud, and side. So you have two vowel sounds within one syllable. You know that's a little stickler. Some that say, okay, well, it has to be only 2 syllables because it's 4 letters. So you do have diphthongs, as we just read in the slide previously, in Hebrew.
Oh, want me to go back to that?
No, that's okay.
Right.
I mean, we just read it in the slide above about the diphthong AU, which is passed into an O. So.
Okay. And these are not the only diphthongs. And these are diphthongs, I think they had AU, could it be UA, could it be EI, could it be OI, could it be a lot of different things? It could be. This is just what they're giving some examples of.
Yeah, we have a slide of that coming up, I think.
Oh, I meant to take this out. Well, all right, HebrewForChristians.com is a place where they've got a lot of information, Torah portions, different things on it. I wanted to read what they had written because I want us to have some different witnesses to different things that have went on. Before the vowel points were introduced, the scribes used the letters aleph, hey, vav, and yod to indicate vowel sounds. These are sometimes called consonantal vowels. At least they're not called consonants anymore. Are matris lectionis, Latin for mothers of reading. So that when one of these consonants was encountered, the reader understood to make an associated vowel sound. In general, the letter aleph represented an ah sound, paran. The letter hey represented an ei sound, our I sound, le ah, Moshe, Mosha. Say that. I've heard people say it both ways. Unless it appeared at the end of a word, in which case it represented an ah sound. Baraka. Baraka. The letter vav could represent either an o sound, as in Yoel, but we read back before on that extra reference, and I'm going to read you from him again here at the bottom. Yahuel. We've got more than one opinion on these things. Stephanie, you got something? Okay. Or an oo sound, Baruch. And the letter yod represented an e sound, David. Often these consonantal letters were used to indicate long vowels. Originally, aleph and hey were put at the end of words, while the yod and vav were used to write diphthongs, combined vowel sounds such as oi. Lots of times, the yod and the waw were used to write diphthongs. The yod was also placed after a consonant to indicate that the vowel was to be determined as a long vowel, Words spelled with vowels are sometimes called Malay, Mala, Malay, Malai. Spellings. Apparently, the Masoretic scribal tradition later added vowel marks, diacritic symbols, to avoid any ambiguity in the spelling of Hebrew words. Kind of like YHWH is marked up for Adonai and YHWH is marked up for Elohim. Kind of did whatever they wanted to do. Today, this writing system is called Ketev Menukad, writing with Nikud. So I want to go read you this other reference that I read from before. And notice the different vowel pointing and pronunciation herein. Zachariahu. There were no concerns by the scribes that his name would accidentally be pronounced where there was no Hebrew letters that followed after Yod, He, Wah. They weren't worried about if it said Yod, He, Wah at the end of the word, Zachariahu. After what year did they stop dropping the U's again? I forgot what it said. Phonetically, the first three, so there would have been a U probably originally because all of a sudden people started dropping U's off the end. Yod, He, Wah would have been Yahoo. Phonetically, the first three letters in the Heavenly Father's name are also pronounced Yahoo. This is from a Yahweh ministry. For these reasons, the Heavenly Father's name can be written as Yahuwah or Yahweh. Yahweh. And the same pronunciation will result. Let me do that again. Yahuwah. 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 Yahweh. That's not the same pronunciation. Just as in the word persuade could also be spelled persuade. Okay, now you're getting into English. Okay, that was English. So we're going to have persuade, or if we're going to put a W there, we're going to pronounce it persuade. Persuade. I prefer to use a W so that there is less confusion over how the name is pronounced, because we don't want to be confused. For if I wrote his name as Yahuwah, Ehuyah, most readers would pronounce just the HU part of his name as Hu. And this is not how I believe the Father's name was pronounced. So the scribes had no problem giving the pronunciation of these three letters at the end of a name, because it ends in Yahu, Yahu. There was considered to be no risk in accidentally saying Yahuwah or Yahweh. This would also explain why the scribes used the correct vowel points in the shortened form of Yahweh's name, Yah. Okay, all right. So there we've got some more evidence that even today, people who are studying these things, people who even use the name of Yahweh, know that it's got a vowel sound. It's got a U in there. Right. So, Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible by Benner. Pages 42 to 44. All right. 42 to 44. If you don't have this resource, I would encourage you to get this resource. And let me see if I can hold it up here. We'll see what it looks like. There it is. I would encourage everyone to get this resource. Do we agree with everything in it? No. But I have found it to be one of the top-notch resources in tracing back roots and language and definitions. Though we don't agree with everything in it. I'll say that again. Page 42. Oh boy. 4 of the Hebrew letters double as consonant. 4 of the Hebrew letters double as consonants and vowels. These are the L, the He, the Wa, and the Yud. The L can be a glottal stop, silent pause, or the vowel sound A, as in hey. The vowel sound A. The hey is an H as a consonant or an E as a vowel. The wa is a W as a consonant or an O or a U as a vowel. The yud is a Y as a consonant or an I as a vowel. The wa and the yud are the two most commonly used vowels in Hebrew. When the wa appears at the beginning of a syllable, it will use the consonantal W sound. The same with the yud, which will use the consonantal Y sound with the beginning of a syllable. I disagree. I think it could be a diphthong. I think it could be a long O. I think it could be an O. We'll get to that here. Another type of vowel is the implied vowel sound. Put what you want in there. This means that the vowel is not written, but is necessary in order to pronounce the word. An example of this is the word beit resh, for grain, which consists of two consonants, a B and an R, and cannot be pronounced without a vowel in between them. In most cases, the implied vowel will be an A or an E. In this case, the implied vowel is an A, because that's what they decided, or maybe that's what it was. And the word beit resh is pronounced ba'ar. We have two types of syllables, open and closed. A closed syllable will include a consonant-vowel-consonant combination, while an open syllable will have a vowel-consonant combination. The vowel may be one of the four consonant vowel letters, usually the yud, the wa, or an implied vowel. So could have it be the Y being the vowel, the U being the vowel, but the U can't be the vowel if it starts it. You got to imply something. You can't have the U, the wa, be the U, be the vowel. If it begins a syllable, instead you're going to have to imply something. In most cases, the final syllable will be a closed syllable. The word berit, covenant, has two syllables. Okay. Generally, a word with three consonants will be divided consonant-vowel, consonant-vowel-consonant. A word with four consonants will be divided as consonant-vowel, consonant-vowel, consonant-vowel-consonant, or consonant-vowel-consonant, consonant-vowel-consonant, however you deem necessary. When a word includes five consonants, the breakdown is usually this. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay? Again, we're basing that all on Masoretic grammar, modern day grammar. We're basing that all on what we believe to be true, but yet we're implying things that aren't even there. We're saying this is this here, but it can't be there because, well, that's our rule. Well, is that Yah's rule? Is my question. In his lexicon, let me read this. The Hebrew text of the Bible, this is on page 43, of the Bible, was originally written with only the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. About 1,000 years ago, a group called the Masoretes created a system of dots and dashes called the nikyud and placed them above and below the consonants to represent the vowels. It was discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls that the four Hebrew letters, El, He, Wa, Yud, were used as vowels. The Masoretes removed these vowels, usually the Wa and the Yud, and replaced them with the nikyud. I'll give some examples here. In this lexicon, he's replaced the Wa and the Yod with the O, the U, and the I whenever they appear, to restore the spelling of the Hebrew words based on the original vowels of the Hebrew words rather than the nikyud. And for the Wa on his table in this book, he's got a W, an O, and a U. It can come across as any of those, which we've seen all throughout. We saw that in the Cuneiform. We saw something. We saw this in the Egyptian. We saw it in the Greek, coming up from the Phoenician. So again, we've got this thing where a group of people, man has decided what's going to happen. All right, so I closed this page. I know I did. circumflex. So we'll see if we can find it here. Actually, let's do this, because I know I closed it. Stephanie, if you can see it on here, you cannot. We're going to Wikipedia, and we're going to look up CIRCUM flex, circumflex. Okay. It's a diacritic mark used to modify characters. Okay, if we scroll down a ways, we can see it's used above the O in here. The circumflex accent marks a long vowel in the orthography or transliteration of several languages. Okay. So they're saying this circumflex makes it a long sound. I don't know what else I was going to read off this page. All right, back to the slide. Now we have H3068 here, which is YHWH. Yet we have, and I don't know what's in the NICU. There's a video out there. It's by a gentleman called the Messenger of the Name. It's called the name. I think it's called the Name of Yehovah. Goes through all the dots and dashes and shuas, and I would recommend that video. Do we agree with his entire theology? No, but I would recommend that as a good video. But what we've got them doing here, we've got this Yehovah. We've got an ah at the end. Here we've got them marking that as such, okay? But here's 433. Here is Eloah. What a better example, okay? We have Eloah, Yahuwah, Eloah. Hello. Okay. What we've got here, we've got an ah sound at the end. The H is an ah sound. Leah is an ah sound. We saw that in Hebrew for Christians. If it ended in an H, it was an ah sound. Now, I've heard some people say if it's masculine, it's always an Moshe. But I've also heard people say Moshe. Who made that decision? If it's a man or a woman, it's an A or an ah. It's just something we've come up with over time. So we're looking at this hey at the end. Ah. How'd that door close again?
Just right on the wind, the sound of the wind from the door.
Yahuwah. El. I hope you can hear me. Okay, so that's just some of the things we have. As far as Stephanie, here we are on this father and son slide, the diphthong in Hebrew, the one where you had the red boxes, syllable 1, syllable 2.
Mm-hmm.
Syllable 1, I'll just say this part here, and you don't have it in front of you. We have the yod and the hey. Here we have the maker. Here we have the right-hand power of Elohim. Here we have the master potter himself revealing. Here's Yah. Here's Yah right here. What did he do? Remember, even the Egyptians knew that a name represented, the Hebrews do, who a person is, what a person does, what a person will become. Here we have the Son, who was added by the breath. You got the pictures on the right-hand side there?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And so it's, we have the L-O. So we have the...
Speak up.
We have... Yeah, my fan is going for my heater. Sorry about that. It's
Okay.
hard to hear me. So. Yeah.
So here on the right-hand side, we have Benner's lexicon, which is ah, loa. Okay, so now you've got the ah by itself, unless you're going to say a, or are you going to say l? We've got the syllable break there, because we cannot have a vowel starting a syllable. Well, you can't. It's impossible. But yet you go over here, and I get because it's a long O. They're saying it's a long O. I understand that. Over here we have L, O, A. How about L, A? Because the U came up into English as a long O. What happened to the U? It's gone. It's a long O. So we're looking at L, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Elohua. Okay? We've made up all these grammar rules that simply are what we want them to be. Got anything else on that one?
I think it's sometimes it's easy for people to pronounce with the oa as opposed to, it's not really, we don't really have that type of thing where we're saying oa or having that breath. It's it's not something we normally pronounce with that oa, because it is all breath. And so it's and just as we were talking about from before, this Alani or Laurel, how do you hear that wind? Do you hear it as a, long ooh, or some people hearing an oh in there, I mean, it's a gale force wind. It's wind. It's this breath, this long oh. So aloha.
Okay.
Now, do you hear me when I say that? Do you hear the woo or do you hear the o?
Or the ooh. What do you hear?
What do you hear?
Because we're not going to run around and everybody's going to go, yeah.
Right?
Get it. But it's a vowel, and we've lost our vowels.
That's the vowels.
Okay, next slide.
Yeah, so we have the Father and we have the Son. Even within his name, he's the Yod-He, it's the Father. He's the creator of all things. All things were revealed by what was spoken. And what was spoken was, when we speak, what was spoken into existence was added by the breath. Everything that came to be was added into existence by the breath of what was spoken.
Which was his word.
Which
is the Son. Which is the seed.
Yes.
Wasn't a physical seed. It was every piece, part, and conglomerate of who he was, because it was his word. It was not another entity. It was his breath that breathed the seed of the word into the earth from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Okay? If anybody's interested in the Arabic, I don't know why this slide is in this position, but it is. I heard somebody say, well, it's the A sound like in Arabic. You can go to this website here and you can see how many sounds this hey letter makes. I'm not going to go into that. So, we're on speaking and spelling in English. So we have YHWH. Do we have Yahweh? Do we have Yehovah or Yahuwah? Last two are pretty much the same. Okay, but people write it differently, so I wrote those two down. Do we have Yahweh or do we have Yehovah? What do we have? Okay, I already read about the Father's name being in the Son's name from that additional website and everything ending in Yahoo. And we read it, in some literature that the U was dropped, but they knew to mark the U at the end, but they didn't know to mark the U at the beginning because they didn't want anybody to accidentally say a U. Okay, so in the video in the description, also on the name of the Son, we will include a video in the description on the name of the Son, which kind of goes into the name of the Father. It comes at it from a different perspective and ends up with the same result. Just so you can get some more information, there's a song at the beginning of that video. Once you get about 7 seconds in or so, you can skip that song if you would like. Okay, so here we got his name again. Just another look. We've got the Father and the Son. All right. So here we've got the first two. Here's the Father, the Creator. Go ahead, Steph.
So yeah, in Genesis 1:1 we have, in the beginning Elohim created the heavens and the earth. So he made everything. That arm right there, he was the maker of everything. Psalm 19:1, and the heavens are proclaiming the esteem of El, and the expanse of declaring the works of his hand. Just another indicator there. And then you found the earth of old, and the heavens are the work of your hands. And that's Psalm 102:25. So he's revealed out of all of this.
He was revealed by everything that he breathed. He breathed his word into the heavens and the arets to show us who he was. Because even by what people see that's in its proper order, they should be able to recognize that he is. So as we go down into this, we want the scriptures to now allow you to decide whether you think his name is who he is and what he's done or not. Because we could go through dots and dashes and languages until we fall on the floor. I will attest to that. But really, who does this say he is? Who does this say he is? And does his name represent who he is and what he's done? So that's kind of where we're going now. Okay? Go ahead, Steph.
So the next slide is the Son, the Messiah, the Word. So this is the Maker revealed. This is the added breath in the spoken words. So in Genesis 1:3-6, and Elohim said, let light come to be, and light came to be. And Elohim said, let an expanse be made in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. John 1:1-3, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. And he was in the beginning with Elohim, and all that came to be through him, and without him not even one thing came to be by him, through him, for him, all things were made. So it's to be. It's the I am. John 1:14, and the Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us, and we saw his esteem, and the esteem of an only brought forth of a Father, complete in favor and in truth. So he was the seed that was brought forth, that came and tabernacled among us.
And we need to remember the Word existed as flesh. It wasn't breathed into existence as flesh.
Right.
It came as already being and became flesh in the fullness of Elohim inside of that perfection of flesh. Because Elohim did not breathe anything that was not in its perfect order into existence to begin with. He did not breathe a physical seed like a man and a woman have sexual intercourse, and now we've got a baby. His seed is his word, according to Mark 4, Luke 8, and I think Matthew 13. So we're looking at this breath and the Son, the seed that came.
Yeah, the Son is the house's seed.
We're on that slide now. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Great. So, so we have the bed, and then you can see here. So we have the Son down there at the NM. Still the same thing. One who continues the family line is the Son. It's interesting as you go up to A, it's a tent panel. There are many similarities between the tent and that of the building of the house of the sons. The idea of the house, the idea of building a house with the sons can be seen in Genesis 30. Just as the tent panels are added to continue the tent, sons are born to the family to continue the family line. So this is a seed. The action at the root is to build. Concrete is tent panel. The abstract is intelligence. Isn't that interesting? The pictograph bait is a picture of the tent, and the noon is a picture of the sprouting seed. He represents continuity as the seed continues the next generation. So his word never returns void because it's that seed. The combined meaning of these letters mean continuing of the house. The tent was constructed of woven goat hair, and over time the sun bleaches and weakens the goat hair, necessitating their continual replacement. Each year the women would make a new panel approximately 3 feet wide in the length of the tent. The old panel is removed, being recycled to the wall or the floor, and the new strip is added to the tent. Since the tent is only replaced one small piece at a time, the tent is essentially lasts forever. So this seed, it lasts forever. His word endorse forever. In Psalms 49:7-15, a brother does not redeem anyone at all, neither give to Elohim a ransom for him, but Elohim does redeem my being from the power of Sheol, for he does receive me, Selah. You know, he is Elohim. He is Elohim. We know that, and even in the Shema, you know, Yah Elohim is one. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Something else came through the phone.
Right?
Right?
Mm-hmm. It's not happening just there.
Right? So, and even Thomas, when he saw the risen Messiah, you know, he called him Elohim. The original seed is without genealogy. This is who the Messiah is, to whom also Abraham gave a 10th part of all of his name, being translated indeed first the sovereign of righteousness, and then also sovereign of Shalom, that is sovereign of peace, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but having been made like the son of Elohim, remain priest for all times. That's in Hebrews. So he's without beginning, without end. He's without mother or father. He's, you know, he is without genealogy. He is our Elohim, who came wrapped in flesh, the house's seed that came. And we also have the parable of the sower, who sows the word. The seed that is sown is the word.
I think it's interesting in this definition in here. We have, in the A line, there are similarities between building a tent out of goat hair panels and the building of a house out of sons. We know at some point that we will be in the reign of the Son of his love. Okay? but yet the Son is the seed that's the word from him. So the one that is the one that is building the house is Yah. The one that has built the house, whose house that it is, let me put it that way, is Yah. And the son that he's building it on is the word that he breathed. And we're either going to follow that word that he breathed to be in the reign of the word and the Torah that will reign over all the land of what he breathed, if we're going to be in his house. So that son is what he breathed. His name and his character are wrapped up together. It means something. Names mean something in Hebrew. And just because we call him Yahushua or Yahushua in the New Testament doesn't mean he doesn't have the same name as his father, Yahu, who came to rescue. We saw that lots of times they used Yahu, and then they ended up dropping the U. Why would it be any different? All right, so, and this is what's going to continue the house. This word is what causes the house to continue, and the following of what was breathed is what's going to cause the house to continue. Because Creation Basic 101, if there was something or someone else there besides Yah, when he filled the earth with every piece, part, and conglomerate, if it wasn't of himself, if every piece of perfect order wasn't of him, who was it of? Who made that? Where did that come from? All right, that's enough on that, huh? All right. Next slide.
And we're just going to continue to give slides that just reinforce this breath and who he is and his character. So we see at the next slide, we have 2 Timothy. All scripture is breathed out by Elohim and is profitable for teaching, for reproof, for setting straight, for instructions in righteousness, that the man of Elohim be fitted, equipped for every good work.
All scripture was breathed.
All scripture was breathed.
Go ahead.
So in the next slide, we have, we already read John 1 through 3. So in Colossians 1, 14 through 16, in whom we have redemption through his blood in the forgiveness of sins, who is the likeness of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn of all creation, the Son, the house's seed. Because in him were created all that are in the heavens and that are all on the earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or rulerships, principalities or authorities, all have been created through him and for him. Just more of the same one that was in Romans. You know, by him, for him, through him, all things were made. Everything was made. There's not one thing that came to be that it wasn't breathed. I found this to be interesting. Also, so we have this tent peg, which is add or secure, and then we also have the breath here. In Isaiah, we have, and I shall place the key of the house of David on his shoulder, and he shall open and no one shuts, and shall shut and no one opens. And I shall fasten him like a peg, which is, if you look that up, that's a Yod Dalit. I don't know. Jeez, I don't know if I did that. Yod Tau Dalit. I would hope so. In a steadfast place, and he shall become a throne of esteem of his father's house, and they shall hang on him all the weight of his father's house, the offsprings and the offshoots, all vessels of small quantity, from the cups to all the jars. In that day, declares the Yehovah of hosts, the peg that is fastened in the steadfast place shall be removed, be cut down and fall, and be the burden that that was on it shall be cut off, for Yehovah has spoken. So just some I can't think of the word.
So that word is actually a yod, a taw, and a del. A dal.
Okay.
Dalit.
Okay.
So I did look that up.
Yeah, okay, good.
So, one of the things that I think is beautiful here in what you read is that we see this peg, we see this wall, we see this nail that has secured everything. It is fastened and it's going to go through. It is steadfast and it is firm forever and ever. And why would that be anything less than what he breathed, than Yah himself? What he has added and secured everything with was through the breath of his mouth.
Yeah, so it gives testament to that. That's what I was looking for, is the word. It gives more testament, even more to that tent peg even being part of that name. It is secure. It's fastened. It's forever. That word is firm. So in Hebrews 8, now the summary of what we're saying is, we have such a high priest who is seated at the right hand in the throne of the greatness of the heavens. So that right hand is the power and authority, who serves in the set apart place and of the true tent, which is Yehovah, set up and not man. So this set up, we see below, hagnomi, a prolonged form of the verb, which is simpler and of course occurs in an alternate certain tense, to fix or to pet a peg, that is to set up a tent. So we just have another witness here of this tent peg.
Just like we saw in the root line for the word son, it's this building of the house, the setting up of the tent. What secures and what fastens your covering that will be over you as a house is the word that was breathed, that will be steadfast and firm forever and ever.
Hallelujah.
So I want to say something else on here because I can hear this coming now. It just came to me. Just because a letter means something, that doesn't give it its phonetic value. What it means doesn't give it its phonetic value.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you may be like, well, what about this? Well, just because what it means does not give it its phonetic value. All right, continue on. Next slide. We on the next slide?
Yes.
We're just about done.
We're getting there. Okay, so I want you to read this one, actually.
Okay, so here we're looking at Psalm 141:3. I'm going to go to it over here on my eSword because I need to be looking at it up close and personal. Okay. Psalm 141:3. O Yah, set a guard for my mouth. Watch over the door of my lips. So here we see these lips. This is actually the root line. Well, okay. Here we see these lips, and these lips is Strong's 8193. And in the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon, we can see it's 1339 AN1. At the AN1, we have a lip. The lip or the edge of something. Also language as spoken from the lips. The language he spoke, he breathed into existence. We have at the A lip. We have at the 1339 root. The action is gather. The concrete is lip. The pictograph sin, modernly some people call it a samach, is a picture of a thorn representing a turning. And the pay is a picture of a mouth. Combined, these mean turning mouth. The rim or lips of a bowl which circle around it. The bowl is used for gathering things together and for eating. Okay? So that's what's meant by the door of our lips. How much, if he breathed everything from his mouth, existence breathed everything, how much more perfection, because we know we got bitter and sweet going on. perfection from his mouth. Let's see. Zephaniah 3:9. For then I shall turn unto the peoples a clean lip, a pure lip. For those that would be in the family of heads, they will have a clean language, a clean lip that was breathed from that which was from the beginning. When we speak, especially when we speak a vowel, what do we hear? A breath? What goes out of us? Now the spirit goes out when we pass. Everything, they know nothing. What comes out of us when we speak? It's a breath. So that they call on the name of Yahuwah to serve him with one shoulder. He is going to turn us back to the pureness of what he originally breathed, because that is who he is. And what he breathed is what we are to follow, because that is who he is in essence. I'm not going to say in entirety, because who can know? We can give what he's given us. What a beautiful picture. We are coming back to the purity of what he breathed, because that is who he is. Isaiah 55, 8-11. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. Oh my goodness. It's not to take out consonants. It's not to make this letter that letter. It's not to change this. It's not to dot this. It's not to dash that. And there's much more to that as well. Neither are my ways your ways, declares Yahuwah. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. Are we going to put on the mind of the anointed high priest, anointed greatest prophet who first breathed the seed in the earth, the King of Kings? Are we going to put on that mind? For as the rain comes down and the snow from the heavens, and do not return there, but water the earth, and make it bring forth and bud, and give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so is my word that goes forth from my mouth. It does not return to me empty, but shall do what I please, and shall certainly accomplish what I sent it for. His word went forth from his mouth with his breath. It is who he is. It gives seed to us who would sow, not just seed in the ground, sow his seed. And it gives bread to those who would eat the bread of life. His breath gives you life. It leaves you when you die. The spirit leaves you when you die. Remember that. The spirit returns to him. Malachi 3:6. For I am Yahuwah. I shall not change. He didn't stop breathing. And you, O sons of Jacob, shall not come to an end. You shall be bound securely fixed to his word. Are you the sons of his house? Are we the sons and daughters of his house that follow after the original seed son that he breathed? He is not a man. Yah is not a man that he should lie. He has not changed. Messiah is the way, the truth, and the life. The Son that he breathed into existence is the way back. He's all of the truth, and nothing but the truth came from that word that was breathed in it. That is what, by following it, is going to give you everlasting life, because the Elohim himself is everlasting life. He is the everlasting, from everlasting to everlasting. Life in the Hebrew comes from the word stomach. What are you feeding on? The Hebrews saw it as a word that without this food, you starved and died, or with the right food, you were to live. Are we going to live, or are we going to die? That Son is also the Word, which we saw. We've spoken of it now, I don't know how many times, that was breathed. And he is also the door that we go through. Anything else, Steph?
Yeah, I just wanted to add too that he is this. Yeah, it's this door. He's the door. If we diligently seek him, we'll find him. If we diligently seek, we'll find it. Just like in my vision, it's like I was looking for that door. We have to seek it, though. We have to want to know. We want to have to find it. We need to diligently look for it.
Okay. Okay, so next we have Psalm 33, verse 6. By the word of Yahuwah, the heavens were made. Every piece, part, and conglomerate of him in its proper order was put where it was supposed to breathe when he breathed it in. And all their hosts by the Spirit, the Ruach, the wind of his mouth. The Spirit, the Ruach, is H7307. We're looking at it here in the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon. And it's 1445 JN. The N is RWHH. Ruach. It's a wind. Also the wind of man, or L, the breath. The breath, his spirit, his breath of his mouth made everything that was made right here in this verse before I go any further. The word made the heavens by the word of Yehovah. The heavens were made, and all their hosts by the spirit of his mouth. The word and the spirit have to be the same, because the heavens were made by the word. Were the hosts not made by the word too? Or were they made by the spirit and the heavens were made just by a word? They go hand in hand. The word is the spirit, is the wind, is to what was breathed. It's the wind, the breath of El himself. The Hebrew nomads were very familiar with the wind patterns, as they would follow a prescribed path indicating their coming season. From this word comes the idea of breath, as it is the wind of man, which also follows a prescribed path of inhaling and exhaling. At the two-letter root, we have the resh, het. Action is travel, concrete is path. The pictograph resh is a picture of the head of man. The head is a picture of a wall that separates the inside from the outside. Combine these mean man outside. The responsibility of the nomad outside of the tent include the feeding, watering, and caring for the livestock. Is that our goal? Is that what we want to do? Is that what the breath of Yah is leading us to? Livestock are healthier and more productive. Is that what he's trying to do? How's he trying to do that? By what he breathed from the very beginning. Livestock are healthier and more productive when on a routine. Do what he said to do and keep doing it. What he breathed, do that. Therefore, the man who follows a routine or a prescribed path each day when caring for his livestock. So not only as he cares for us, but as we care for others, and if we're all on the same page in unity, he only breathed this one set of instructions. And he didn't say interpret it 10 different ways. John 4:24, Elohim is spirit. But in Psalm 33:6, we see the word is the spirit. Elohim is the spirit. It's all what he breathed from the very beginning. It's who he is. And those who worship him need to worship him in spirit and the truth of what he breathed. Stephanie?
Exactly. I don't have anything to add to that part.
Okay. All right. Here's a couple.
Right.
This is you?
Yeah, no. Oh, my heater just went on. Yeah, let me let you read since this is loud.
John 3, verses 5 to 8. Yahusha answered, Truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born of the water and the Spirit, that which was breathed, that which he breathed, him himself, he is unable to enter into the reign of Elohim. He ain't going through the door. That which has been born of the flesh is flesh, and that which has been born of the Spirit is spirit. Yahusha was not born of the flesh, though he came through the flesh. Do not marvel that I say to you, you have been born from above. The wind blows where it wishes. Yes, he does. And you hear the sound of it. Nicodemus did. But you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. So is everyone who has been born of the Spirit. Those who have been born of the Spirit are following the routine and the path. They know where it comes from. And they know if they're following the breath and the wind of what was breathed, where they were going. Nicodemus, I think at this point, wasn't quite there yet. Though I can't prove that, I've never tried. John 20:22. And having said this, he breathed on them and said to them, receive the set-apart Spirit. He breathed, and there was the Spirit, because the breath is the Spirit. Elohim is the Spirit. It is what he breathed. It is the Son, the seed, the word that he breathed. That is who he is. This is his character. Genesis 2:7. And Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. John 16:7, 8, 13, and 14. But I say the truth to you. It is better for you that I go away. For if I do not go away, the Helper shall not come to you at all. But if I go, I shall send him to you. And having come, he shall convict the world concerning sin, and concerning righteousness, and concerning judgment. But when he comes, the Spirit of truth, he shall guide you into all truth. That which was breathed from the beginning, Elohim himself, every piece, part, and conglomerate, the Ruach HaKodesh, is going to lead you into all truth, because he is all truth. For he shall not speak from himself, but whatever he hears he shall speak, and he shall announce to you what is to come. He shall esteem me, for he shall take what is of mine and announce it to you. So he's not some separate entity that speaks for himself. He speaks for Elohim because he is Elohim. And when he guides us in every piece, part, and conglomerate of the truth, he doesn't feed it to us all at once. It comes as we continue to let the light light our path. And suddenly there came a sound from the Shemaim as of a rushing mighty wind, as of a gale force wind. And it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared to them divided tongues as of fire, and settled on each one of them. And they were all filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, and began to speak in other tongues, as the Spirit gave them to speak. Right here, we're just going to say that it was a mighty, rushing wind, the breath of the Ruach HaKodesh, Elohim himself, who speaks every piece, part, and conglomerate as you continue on the path. He's not giving you new stuff. He's not giving you more revelation of what he breathed from the beginning if you're still going around the same mountain. He's given us certain things to overcome to take the next step. Yeah, that hurts sometimes. Go ahead, Steph.
And just by all of these verses, we hope that it just continues to be a witness to the breath of what he breathed, and that his name is his character, and that he would have the breath in his name.
His name is one with his character, with his breath, is our next slide.
Right.
Zechariah 14:9. And Yahuwah shall be sovereign. He exists as sovereign over all the earth. Though we have a little underling running around right now trying to play smarty pants dance. In that day there shall exist one Yahuwah, and his name, one. So first we're going to look at exist, which is H1961. This is where they say his name comes from. 1097 MV. Right here, MV. Here we have a Hey Yod Hey. Exist. To exist are to have breath. Existence has breath. Existence is breath. He is. That's what he is. That's how we got everything into existence. To exist or have breath. He has the breath of life. I shouldn't say that's what he is, because that's not all what he is, but it's what he is in this respect. That which exists has breath. In Hebrew thought, the breath is the character of someone or something. Okay, so what he breathed in that was the seed of himself doesn't have anything but his character wrapped up in it. His name, existence, has breath. Let me stop there. Okay, so I want to say something here. This is just food for thought for some people. Remember when we talked about in the 1901 and the 1906 Jewish Encyclopedia where it said at the beginning of verb stems they replaced was with yods? What precluded them from doing it in any other place in a word? Absolutely nothing. So if you move back up here to the J, you find a hey wah hey. Well, isn't that interesting? To exist or have breath. That which exists has breath. It's got the exact same definition that the one at MV has. Am I saying I can, again, slam my fist on the table and say that's concrete? I cannot. But look at that. It's the last three letters of his name. Two-letter root, we have hey hey. The action is to breathe. The concrete is breath. The abstract is exist. The hey represents one who is looking at a great sight with his hands raised and taking a long breath. And the other hey represents the same thing. Okay. This existence that is going to exist when he comes in his fullness and exists, that's what we're going to be like. Hey, hey, would be my humble estimation, and then down on the ground with our noses to the ground, or if we still have noses in, or what have you. This is what existence is all about. It's going to be like in Isaiah 6 when he looked into the perfect Torah, perfect breath of what Yah breathed. He looked at it and said, I'm undone. We need to get to looking into this, and we need to be we need to be undone with ourselves. If we have brought forth anything that's not this, we need to retract, we need to redeem the time, and we need to go back and do everything we can do to now make it right and redeem the time with what has come forth through our mouth, because we're going to be judged by every idle word, every idle breath that comes from it. Existence is breath. The breath is the character of someone or something. We see that in existence. Stephanie, do you have anything?
Nope, that's it.
His name. So now let's look at name and one. Name is H8064. Shem. It's 1473 AN in the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon. The breath of man is his character. What makes one what he is? The breath of Yah makes him who he is. It's wrapped up in his name. The name of an individual is more than an identifier, but descriptive of his character or his breath. His name, how it's pronounced, what it stands for, the activity that is performed, are descriptive of existence itself. At the A, we have Hebrew names are the words given to describe character. I think it's interesting the abstract is desolate because the breath is either going to bring you, his name is either going to bring you life or you're going to be desolate. I guess that's like eternal life and eternal death. His name is one. 1165 CN, unity. A group united or one of a group. The C is a uniting together. All things are a unity with something else. His name, how it's pronounced, how it came out through a breath, what activity it performs, is all unified in existence itself. It's all one. You cannot separate the two, the three, the four. You cannot separate these pieces, parts, and conglomerates of who he is. Right here it tells you his name is one. It's every piece, part, and conglomerate of who he is. The pictograph het, we're going to the root here. The pictograph het is a picture of a wall. The dal is a picture of a door. Combined, these mean wall door. A wall separates the inside from the outside. Only through the door, through the word, through the seed, through the sun, through what was breathed, through Elohim, can one enter or exit. You're coming from the outside, and you're going to the inside. There's only one way, and that is Yahuwah. It's the one way.
And you know, Yah is awesome when he gives these revelations. You know, and like I said before, it's that door that I saw, looking for that door, seeking it, and then it opening. He's the door. He is that door, and you cannot enter in. And it's somewhat overwhelming for me, you know, just how beautiful that all came to be. How everything he showed me is all wrapped up in these last two slides as a punctuation mark, if you will.
One thing I want to say about Yahusha proclaiming, he proclaimed the name of the Father. He proclaimed he who himself was. The breath that was breathed of Yah himself. And I've listed the scriptures there for you. Please read them. Consider. We're going to turn to Josephus. Josephus said in Book 5, Chapter 5, Section 7 of Wars of the Jews, on the high priest's golden crown, in which was engraven the sacred name of God, it consists of 4 vowels. Some people will say, well, that's because he was speaking to a Greek audience. There are other places in Josephus's writings where he uses specific Greek dialect. There is no reason why he couldn't have used it here. That is an invalid argument. A renowned Hebrew textbook says, long before the introduction of vowel signs, it was felt that the main vowel sounds should be indicated in writing, and so 3 letters, Yothe, He, and Wa, were used to represent long vowels. A practical guide to grammar for classical Hebrew, etc., etc. Next paragraph. The letters of the name God in Hebrew are Yod He Vav He, and they are frequently mispronounced Yahweh, but they are all vowels. Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, The Book of Words, Jewish Lights, publication, page 27. If they were all vowels, they would be pronounced Yahuwah. Now you hear the consonants form around the letters, form around the vowels. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Now, did I put a big long wind in there? No. I would think he did when he breathed it, like the vision that Stephanie had. It was a gale force wind. These vowels would be pronounced, if you're going to make it even close to anything we've discussed, are going to be pronounced Yahuwah, Yahuwah. That puts together and also takes apart every bit of man's syllable, grammar, pronunciation, vowel, consonant, half vowel, semi-vowels. It puts it where it's supposed to be. His name is his character, is who he is and what he's done and what he has given us to follow. Yahuwah. Oh, I want to read something. Hopefully I can find it. If I can't, that's okay. Consonants, like a B, a D, a K, or an M, are made by obstruction of airflow. Elohim's name has no obstruction, like our names or characters have. His name and his character are all flow and melody. Okay. Vowels are the essential part of any pronounceable word. We use the vowels in Elohim's name in every word we speak or write. We wouldn't have any intelligible words without vowels. We proved that in the beginning. We got to add a vowel. Elohim lets us use the vowels of his name in every word that we speak. How beautiful this name is. Why would you want something else? If you know this and you are teaching something else, you need to take a serious look at what we've presented today. You are closing off the air and the character of who Yah is and what he breathed. There are many verses about how important the pronunciation of his name is. We would encourage you to look those up. Stephanie, do you have anything else?
Nope. Not on that.
So there's one last thing we're going to talk about here real quick. It's real short. There are some out there who will come at this from what I call a smarty pants dance tactic. It's a level of fear-mongering, if you will. It's not a high level, but it's a level, and it's a very insidious level. And here's 3 examples of what it sounds like. Anyone who says the name that way does not have the Holy Spirit. We covered what that was, the Ruach, the wind. Anyone who says that name that way doesn't have the Holy Spirit. They've had the name taken from them. Or where did they learn their Hebrew? On Facebook? To which we have various different answers that we could bring forth. But we have chosen for ourselves, and we hope that you will choose for yourself, these following verses out of Scripture. Stephanie?
So in 1 Corinthians 14, we read a few verses here. He who is prophesying builds up the assembly, but he who is prophesying speaks of building and encouragement and comfort to men. Prophesying is not for unbelievers, but for those who believe. This is for us to be built up. Bringing this to you so that we can build up and encourage and comfort. And stop, to bring clarity, to show what Yah has given us, what he has shown me. And I wanted to bring that to you. We ask that you do not quench the Ruach. Do not despise prophecy. Prove them all, go back from what we've presented, and hold fast to what is good.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We just thank you, Yahuwah, Father, that you have brought forth the breath of life, Yah. Yah, I pray and I ask for that last scripture, Yah, to be upon everybody who sees this, that they not quench that breath, that they not cut it off from the face of the earth and from the people thereon, your people, the believers in Yahuwah Elohim, Father, but that this word go forth and be, as Stephanie read in Corinthians, building up of the body, and in the other scriptures, so we can be together in unity in what he breathed from the very beginning. Yah, give us understanding and wisdom. Each and every person understanding and wisdom. Open their eyes. Cause them to hear. Let us turn our hearts and repent, that we might go through the door in the reign of the Son of his love. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.